Neglected by my family, I left. When my brother was arrested, they begged for help. I demanded an apology, then refused. Do you ever feel like you're just there? Like you exist in a space but no one sees you? That is how it has always been in my family. I wasn't the perfect child. I was not the troublemaker. Just the one in the middle. The one who performed what was required but never quite enough. It started little. Small things. My parents forgot to save me a plate for dinner. My brother took my items without asking, knowing that no one would care if I protested. They never explicitly stated that I wasn't wanted, at least not at first, but it was always there. In the way people spoke around me, my existence seemed like an afterthought. I attempted to brush it off. Families were not perfect, correct? Perhaps I was simply being sensitive. Maybe if I worked more and performed better, they'd finally see me as someone worth keeping. So I worked hard. I made certain that my grades were solid. I helped around the house. I remained out of trouble. However, it never seemed to matter. My brother? He could do whatever he wanted, talk back, skip chores, fail a class, it made no difference. My parents would make excuses for him. He's only a kid. He's going through a difficult moment. You should be more supportive of him. Every time I brought out the disparity in how we were treated, I became the problem. It was difficult. The resentment eventually bubbled over. But it's not from me. From them. It was Saturday night. I'd just come home from work. Nothing extraordinary, simply a part-time job at a neighborhood grocery store. My parents never gave me much money, so I worked on weekends to save some. My brother, on the other hand, did not need to lift a finger. He received everything he wanted. I entered the house, tired. The first thing I saw was him sitting on the couch, controller in hand, deeply immersed in his game. A half-eaten dish of food rested on the table. And my backpack is on the floor. Open. My notebooks and papers were spilled on the carpeting. What the hell, dude? I sighed and bent down to gather up my belongings. Oh yeah, he mumbled, staring at the television. We needed paper. I took some. As I flipped through my notebook, my stomach sank. My notes, which I had spent hours on, were gone. Torn out. I clenched my jaw. Are you serious? He finally looked at me and said, relax. It's simply some pointless notes. It's not like you do anything important. That landed harder than it should have. Perhaps because deep down, I knew that was how he saw me. How everyone saw me. Where are they? I inquired, my voice tight. He scoffed. Dunno. Probably in the trash. I'm not sure what happened at that moment, but something inside me snapped. Not in a violent, screaming way, but in a cold, calm knowledge. I was not one of them. Not really. I took a deep breath and forced myself to remain calm. You're unbelievable, I mumbled as I walked by him to the kitchen. That's when my folks entered. And that's when things started to go wrong. My mother and father entered, laughing at something, an inside joke between them. Something I never participated in, but as they noticed me standing there, their demeanor changed. What's with this attitude? My father asked, his eyes narrowing. I sighed sharply while still holding my destroyed notebook. Ask him, I said, nodding to my brother. He ripped out my notes. I just threw them away like they were nothing. My mother scarcely glanced at him. It's just paper, she remarked with a dismissive palm. I stared between them, expecting something. Even anything as simple as that wasn't cool or don't do that again. But nothing. Instead, my brother smirked. Yeah, it's just paper, he repeated, as if he knew he had already won. I felt my fingers tightening around the notebook. Right. Of course. I turned to head upstairs, but my father's voice stopped me. You know, this attitude is exactly why no one wants to be around you. I froze. What? I inquired, turning slowly. Dumb, my mother moaned, as if she had grown tired of me. You overreact to everything. Constantly playing the victim. Always creating problems. Is this causing problems? I gave out a sour laugh. For what? Expecting basic respect? Because I don't want my belongings trashed? My brother snorted. God, you're so dramatic. I shake my head. You behave as if I'm the problem, but you don't even notice what's occurring. You just let him do what he wants. Dad folded his arms. Because he's not the one constantly whining. That hit hard. But not as difficult as what happened later. My brother lay back on the couch, arms extended behind his head, smirking. No one wants you here, man. I felt my stomach drop. But my parents' reaction broke something in me. They nodded. They truly nodded. My mom didn't say anything. My father didn't argue. They just stood there silently, as if they had already accepted that fact. I did not yell. I did not beg them to take it back. I just breathed, and something inside of me went cold. Okay, I replied simply. And I went upstairs to pack my stuff. And I left. But this was not the end. Not even close. Because the next morning, my phone was filled with 12 missed calls. And that's when I realized that leaving was the best decision I'd ever made. I did not answer any of the calls. Not at first. I simply gazed at my phone, watching as the notifications piled up. My brother. My dad. Even my mother. For a family that didn't want me, they were frantic to contact me now. I let it ring. I was not in a haste. After leaving last night, I didn't have a plan. I threw my belongings in a duffel bag and walked out, feeling numb. I crashed at a friend's place, someone who genuinely cared about me. He didn't ask any questions. I didn't push. He simply tossed me a blanket and added, "You can stay as long as you need." It was more kindness than my own family had shown me in many years. They wanted something now. And I suspected it wasn't because they missed me. By the time the calls ceased, a few texts began to arrive. The first ones were exactly what I imagined. Mom. You are acting immature. Come back. Dad. Enough with this crap. You should quit acting like a child. I scoffed. Yes, I actually left. They were definitely not apologetic. Then a new message arrived. One event transformed everything. Mom. Come home now. We have an issue. I glanced at the screen, my pulse quickening. Is there a problem? I considered ignoring it, but curiosity got the better of me. I finally texted back. Only 2 words. Me. What happened? Her reply came almost immediately. Mom. Your brother messed up. Bad. And just like that, I knew. They did not miss me. They did not want me back. They needed me. And that gave me an idea. I lay back on the couch and stared at my phone. So they needed me. Interesting. I was not in a hurry to answer. Instead, I allowed them to sweat a little. If my brother had truly messed up, whatever happened was significant enough that my parents, who had never taken my side, were now reaching out. After around 10 minutes of silence, more texts started arriving. Dad. We don't have time for your attitude, just come home. Mom. Please. This is serious, seriously. That almost made me laugh. When my troubles became serious, they advised me to get over them. But now that my brother was in peril, it became crucial. I took my time penning the next response. Me. It's not my problem. A minute has passed. Then another. Then my father called. I let it ring, declined. A second later, a text appeared. Dad. You are being selfish. I breathed sharply through my nose. Selfish? That was impressive coming from him. Then my mother texted again. Mom. Your brother has been arrested. I blinked. Okay, now I am interested. I took my friend's car keys from the countertop. I need a ride. He raised an eyebrow. You sure? Thought you were done with them. I smirked. Oh, I am. But I need to see this for myself. 15 minutes later I pulled up in front of my home. My father was pacing on the porch, phone in hand, and appeared more anxious than I'd ever seen him. My mother sat on the steps, head in her hands. For once, no one laughed, no disparaging remarks, just pure panic. Silence. I took my time walking up. So, I casually inquired. Who wants to tell me what happened? My father turned, his gaze steely. Where the hell have you been? I raised an eyebrow. Not here, like you wanted? He clenched his teeth, but before he could respond, my mother spoke. It's your brother, she explained, her voice cracking. He stole something? From the wrong people? I frowned. The wrong people? Dad ran his fingers over his face. Some guys at that arcade he hangs out at. We don't know the details, but they called the cops. He's in holding right now. I nearly laughed. Of course, my brother had spent years treating me like garbage, believing he was untouchable. And now, the actual world had struck him like a truck. I crossed my arms. And what do you want me to do about it? Mom shot me a frantic look. We need money. For a lawyer. Bail. Something. We need your help. I stared at her for a long time. Then I finally grinned. They needed me. But I didn't need them. After years of shoving me aside and treating me like I was nothing, they now looked at me as if I were their only hope. And in a way, I was. I tucked my hands in my pockets and tilted my head slightly. So let me get this straight, I muttered. You told me I was unwanted. You let my brother treat me like garbage. You didn't care when I walked out. But now that he's in trouble, you suddenly remember I exist? My father's jaw stiffened. This isn't about that. This is about family. I laughed. A brief piercing noise. Oh, now we're family? That's funny. Because last night, I was a burden. Mom's eyes were begging. Please. We can talk about all of that later. Right now, we need to get him out before this gets worse. I let out a slow breath, pretending to think about it. And how much money are we talking about? Dad exhaled. Bail is set at $10,000. We can pay a portion, but we need you to cover the rest. I whistled. 10 grand, huh? Sounds serious. My mother perked up somewhat. So, you'll do it? I smirked. Oh, absolutely not. Their faces sank so quickly that I nearly felt awful. Almost. Excuse me? My father snapped. I shrugged. Not my problem. Mom's voice crackled. But, he's your brother. I shake my head. He's your son. I corrected with a firm voice. And you made it very clear that I was never part of this family. Dad stepped forward, wrath in his eyes. You think you're proving a point? You think this is funny? I met his stare without flinching. No. I smirked. I think it's fair. Mom grabbed my arm, her words urgent. We'll pay you back. I took a step backward. You think I trust you? The people who threw me away without a second thought? Her lips opened and closed, but she said nothing. I shake my head. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to figure this out without me, just like you always wanted. And I'm going to walk away, just like you told me to. I turned on my heels and returned to my friend's car. My father cried after me, Don't you dare walk away from us. I looked over my shoulder. You already did it first. Then I got in my car and drove away, leaving them in the mess they had created. I drove away. My fists gripped around the steering wheel. I should have felt triumphant. I should have felt like I finally had the last laugh. But, instead, I felt hollow. Not because I regretted my decision, they deserved it, but because after all, even when they begged for my assistance, I knew they still didn't consider me family. They simply saw me as a solution. A wallet. A safety net. And now, that net was gone. That night, I sat in my room, reading through my phone and eating a beautiful, fatty burger from my favorite takeout restaurant. It was serene. Quiet. I hadn't experienced a night like this in years living under that roof. I considered turning my phone on mute, but I couldn't resist checking my alerts. Surprise, surprise, my family had not given up. Mom sent 3 SMS in a row. Mom. Let's work something out. Please let's speak. Mother. Your brother is still in jail. We're having trouble getting the money together. Mom. Please, I understand we were tough previously, but we're family. I almost choked on my soda. Are we now a family? Did they finally care? That was lavish. I was pondering whether to answer when another text arrived, this time from my father. Dad. See, we can repay you. You simply need to trust us. That one had me laughing out loud. Trust them. The same people who for years treated me as if I were an unwanted guest in my own home? Are these the same people who advised me to leave without hesitation? Yeah. Right. Just as I was about to put my phone down, another message arrived. Brother. Come on, man. Are you really going to let me rot here? Oh, this was really amazing. After everything he's put me through, all the times he's shoved me around, mocked me, and labeled me useless, what now? Now he sought my assistance. I decided to have some fun. Me. You said no one wanted me around. I'm simply respecting your requests. Delivered. Read. No response. I smiled at myself, extended my arms behind my head, and ate another piece of my burger. Life was good. The following morning, I awoke to a rush of messages. Groggy, I massaged my eyes, unlocked my phone, and began scrolling through them. Apparently, things were getting tough for the family at home. Dad. We had to sell both the TV and my golf clubs. Your mother is furious at me. I hope you're happy. Dad. Please. We don't know what to do now. And then, the best one yet. Brother. I swear to God, when I leave, you better hope I don't find you. That was hilarious. Was the same guy who needed my help now threatening me? I chose to respond. Me. That is some strong language for someone who requires my assistance. Try again. An hour passed before my mother swallowed her pride and sent another message. Mom. Please, we are definitely struggling. I let her sit in her desperation for a few minutes before responding. Me. I'll bail him out. On one condition. She did not hesitate. Mom. Anything? I smirked. I want a public apology. In the family group chat. A long one. I want you all to admit every horrible thing you've said to me, and I want you to thank me for helping. I knew that would hurt my father's pride. But if they needed my help so desperately, they'd have to beg for it. It did take them a bit. But eventually, a new message appeared in the family group chat. Dad. We need to discuss how we've treated you. We've made mistakes, and we now see how deeply we've wounded him. We profoundly regret our comments and behavior. He is an essential member of our family, and we appreciate his generosity in assisting us during this tough time. It was stiff, it was forced, and it was quite humiliating for them. Perfect. I gave them a simple thumbs up emoji and proceeded about my day. Did I really bail my brother out? Haha. Absolutely not. But at least I received the apologies I had always deserved. Next week, my brother called me. Man, I can't believe you did this to me, he said over the phone, his voice heavy with rage. I thought you were better than this. I couldn't help laughing. It was not a malicious chuckle. It's more like the giggle you get when the universe gives you precisely what you deserve. Better than what? I inquired, my voice light and even humorous. I'm just giving you what you wanted. You told me I wasn't wanted, remember? So now you get to stay exactly where you belong. I could hear him smashing something into the jail bars in the distance. You can't do this? You're really just leaving me here? I paused for a moment before responding. You know, I thought I might bail you out. I really did. But you, and the rest of the family, you've made it pretty clear that I don't matter. I paused to allow the words to sink in. So now? I get to laugh. I get to enjoy my life, knowing that I'm out here living it on my terms while you're stuck. Enjoy your stay. He did not say anything for a while. I could almost see him furious on the other end. But I didn't care. After years of being regarded as an afterthought, like an unseen shadow in the backdrop, this was my moment. When I hung up the phone, a sense of relief washed over me. I wasn't angry anymore. In fact, I couldn't feel the resentment I used to harbor for them. Everything had melted away. Just like that. My brother remained in jail. They did everything to get him out, but the charges were so serious that they couldn't help him. They begged and pleaded, but the reality was, they needed me far more than I needed them. As for me, I walked away. Hold your head high. I knew I'd finally returned my power. I didn't have to move a finger to make their lives miserable. They had already done it for me. All I had to do was relax, enjoy my quiet, and know that they would never see me the same way again. And whenever I looked at my phone, with its continual reminders of how desperate they were, I smiled. Because in the end, it wasn't only about the money, it was about the sweet, fulfilling taste of vengeance. For the first time in years, I was finally living for myself. Honestly, this story is quite satisfying. The protagonist was mistreated by his family, but the way he turned the tables and refused to help his brother was great. It's like the best revenge. And he didn't even need to do anything drastic, just let them face the consequences. What are your thoughts? Was that the correct decision, or did he go too far? Would you have helped? Or is this retribution well-deserved? Let me know your thoughts. My mother moved out, moved away with her fiancé, and left me feeling abandoned. She was a terrible mother. I tried posting this elsewhere, but I think it got caught in a spam filter and the mods haven't responded. I don't know if this is the right place to go either since I'm 16F. Like I mostly live with my dad, but I spend a weekend every month with mom. They divorced 3 years ago. Mom moved in with my cousin and it was cool cause I went there all the time. Like a year and a half ago mom made me go there, introduced me to this girl and came out to me and said they were dating. She and her fiancé are engaged now. She also said they were moving to Victoria in a week. So yeah, after a week she was gone. From where I am to her it's a drive, a ferry ride and then another drive. It takes a while to see her, that's why I can only go once a month. Since she left everything's been so sucky between us. Now it's like a good morning message and FT good night for 5 minutes. And everything else that changed with her just dipping like that sucks too. I don't even like visiting her, cause it's like I don't belong with her and her fiancé, But I went cause I thought that she wanted to see me and I miss her a lot every day. This weekend I was in Victoria and she was FT my cousin while I studied and they got to wedding talk. She said stuff like how her life is 100x better since she left, how she's finally got real happiness in her fiancé. Her fiancé is her world now and can't wait to fully move on from her old life. It just made me so freaking angry, like her life is so much better with me barely in it. And move on from that old life? I'm from that old life. I guess she noticed I was pissed cause at night she tried to talk to me. I said I didn't want to talk but she's like she deserves to know when something's wrong with her girl since I always seem so depressed whenever I come over and that just made me snap and I lost it and started shouting at her. I was like I fucking hate the way she came out cause my life got a lot worse and it ruined things between us and it sucks that it's like she wants me gone cause she's happier without me. That started a pretty bad argument cause she was like I'm blowing it out of proportion. I just don't understand. And then mom just left the room but I heard her crying when I walked by her room to go to the washroom at night. In the morning her fiancé drove me to the ferry right after breakfast instead of after dinner. Since then it was just text cause I didn't want to talk to her. My dad and his GF have noticed my attitude so yesterday I told them what happened and he flipped, telling me I couldn't say that shit to my mom and his GF said I was an asshole for saying it. Before I went to sleep I FT'd mom to talk again and she said my happiness is hers and if she's why I'm depressed I shouldn't see her till I'm ready. Now I don't know like if I was wrong to say that shit to mom or what I should do even, my fucking counselor is still in Barbados. My dad's at work and his GF's like she's staying out of it and my cousin did too. Again, sorry if this is the wrong subreddit. If there's a better one for me to post since the other one I tried doesn't seem to be it either. Please let me know. Update. So a lot of shit has happened since my last post and I just feel more shit than before. I didn't plan on posting here again but you all were so nice I thought it couldn't hurt to hear what you have to say. But I called my uncle, he wanted to see me, cause I was scared my dad told him and then he's ashamed of me too cause he's gay and he's my fave uncle ever. So he picked me up after school and I went to his apartment and he just gave me a big hug because he knew something was up. So I told him what I said and why I said it and that I was scared he'd be mad at me too if my dad was the one who told him. He just told me he isn't mad and he understands and we played basketball at the court nearby until it was time for him to drop me off. That was like the last time I've even felt actually happy cause the entire rest of this month has been such absolute shit. Like I phoned my mom to say sorry the day after and talk about how I feel but all she did was get mad at me for telling my uncle and said I'm not allowed to share stuff about her home without her permission. I said I was sorry about both things but she said it didn't matter now and just hung up. Then her fiancé texted and just said to give my mom a few days to calm down. That just made me mad cause why should I? She's my mom. I should be able to phone her whenever and I tried but she just declined my call and then I think I turned off her phone. I don't know I haven't slept properly at all since then cause I think I ruined things with my mom for good like all she's been doing is texting me and we've barely actually talked. Like I keep thinking about it and my thoughts and dreams just get all messed up and it's like I get this soft lump in my stomach that keeps coming and going the more I think about it. It feels like I was right about me being part of her old life and I wish I'd never said what I did to her. Then it turns out I was supposed to get a tetanus shot when I was 11 but I didn't for some reason. We're not anti-vaxxers. So I had to get it now cause dad said Vancouver Coastal Health Authority was on his ass and I ended up having a terrible allergic reaction to it. Like I got sent to the hospital for a week cause of it, like apparently super rare reaction, hooray for me. And that fucked up my exams too and my mom didn't even come see me cause she was going to a cabin with her fiancé the day after. She talked to my dad on the phone and learned how bad it was but just texted me she knew I'd be better and that if I was still there when she came back she'd come right away like it made me want to stay in the hospital for longer. She didn't fucking come, everyone came but her, like my cousin came every day and my dad's GF even slept by me a few days and my nieces and even my boyfriends and best friends' moms came but mine didn't. And when I got out all I got was a text saying so happy you're out of the hospital baby with a selfie from her and her partner showing off the cabin included with it. Like I couldn't stop looking at that stupid photo I like obsessed over it for days and kept getting that stupid feeling in my stomach and so I smashed my phone and my dad's GF heard and he got an emergency meeting with my counselor. She's a psychologist but I've always called her that. Set up. And I told her everything but more details Avi and at the end of it she said I'm very likely depressed and might need treatment. I don't know. I got scared and asked her to tell my dad and she did and told us to get our family doctor to give a referral to a psychiatrist to get proper diagnosis for treatment or to just get it from the family doctor. My dad got scared and made us get that referral the next day. My dad made the appointment and asked my mom to come but she said she won't be able to and just texted me to stay strong and remember I'm the most important thing in the world to her. I don't know what to do. I don't want meds or anything. I just want my mom to love me like she used to again. If you guys have any advice on what to do, I need to hear it, cause it's like my mom isn't even listening to me anymore and the appointment is on Friday and I'm feeling scared. Second update. So, I would have made an update earlier but I just didn't have time. I'm in the hospital right now recovering from my ankle surgery and all I have is time until I can go home on Friday, so I thought I might as well update. The day after I wrote my post I had my niece's mom, my cousin-in-law but she introduces me as her little sister, so sister-in-law, drive me to my uncle and he just gave me the biggest hug ever and I don't know, I just ended up crying a little and they ended up calming me down. I told my uncle about the appointment with the psychiatrist and that I was scared even though everybody, you guys, was saying it would be okay and that I'd just been so unhappy and that I'd just missed my mom so much. He agreed to go with me and my dad to the psychiatrist cause my mom wouldn't be coming. I don't know, I just didn't sleep at all that night and just felt so scared in the morning and kept thinking about mom and didn't want to go to school either. But I did go, just felt so weird, like that feeling in my stomach was just there and not going away. Only hanging out with my boyfriend felt right and before lunchtime I just fell asleep in class and got sent to the office. They phoned my dad and he signed me out and dropped me off at my uncle's house. He was already taking care of my niece so I felt bad but I went to sleep at the same time as her and he took a really cute photo of us sleeping next to each other. He woke me up when my dad came back and we just went to the psychiatrist together. Long story short, at the end of the appointment the psychiatrist prescribed me a really low dose of antidepressants cause I'm still scared. I've been taking them and they have made me feel a bit better but I have another appointment next week cause my counselor says I might need a higher dose. When I vented to my counselor, she said she'd be willing to host an extra joint session between me and my mom on Zoom if she agreed, and that it might help if I get my feelings across with a third party. I didn't want to do it but some of you recommended it and my counselor said it could be a good first step. So I called my mom and it was a short conversation again but she agreed to the counseling session and all I had to do was send her the Zoom link so we set one up for later. So I had the Zoom session in our computer room so I'd be all alone there and at first my mom seemed so excited because she was like, we can work through our issues and put them behind us. I don't want to talk about all of it. I mean I couldn't anyway. I can't remember most of it but it didn't go well at all, like when my counselor brought up not being with her that much, my mom said when I came to University of Victoria, I'd obviously stay with her and I just said after everything I didn't even want to go to the University of Victoria anymore and would rather just go to University of British Columbia cause everybody here actually wants me. My mom said that was ridiculous since outside of Waterloo University of Victoria was the best option for software engineering in Canada and University of British Columbia only has electrical computer engineering, so I'd have to go to her if I still wanted to do that. I remember my mom said a few times like she'd spent over a decade doing nothing but being a mom and now that she finally understood herself she just wanted time to explore that and I should appreciate that. Then at the end of it I told my mom that I hated that she didn't come and see me in the hospital and that she didn't even phone me like I told her I was scared I'd die and she just said it wasn't that serious cause it was a vaccine and those protect us and to not act like it was serious. I don't know, that made me mad and I just muted my mic cause I didn't want them to hear me crying but I kinda had a breakdown and just ran out to my dad and his fiancée cause I was crying. They said they ended the session but I don't know what they said to my mom or the counselor. Apparently I fell asleep crying on the couch while hugging my dad but I don't remember any of it but my dad said I was crying really loudly. I think they carried me to their bed because when I woke up in the morning I was there and my dad was on a mattress by the door and she was on one by the washroom door. They said it was to block me cause they were scared I'd try something. My dad took my new phone and laptop from me for a bit and said it might be healthy for me to stay off them for a bit. I have them back now. I haven't talked to my mom at all since then. I mean not even good morning good night texts. She hasn't contacted me at all about my broken ankle even though I had surgery yesterday and I feel like she doesn't even care that I got hurt. Like I know dad told her that I'm going to surgery but she hasn't called. I have my phone and laptop back now but my dad made me delete IG and Snap because he's worried seeing her on there might trigger me. A lot of you said I should stop talking to her, but I feel bad about it, like when I think about it makes me feel worse like it's over now and I don't have her anymore. I just want her back. The only time I learn what's up with her is if I go to my cousin, who my mom stayed with after the divorce, and ask and apparently she's still happy and is occupied with all her wedding planning. Like another thing that sucks is that I used to love watching Scream with my cousin but now I can't even watch it cause I feel bad for Billy cause his mom left him too and I feel bad for feeling like that cause he's the villain. So I couldn't even get through our rewatch and we couldn't even watch the new one. I told my counselor that I still feel really bad and sad and nothing's changed and she said I need to bring it up at my next appointment with the psychiatrist so he can up my dose. I don't know, I feel confused and I don't like not seeing or talking to my mom at all. I feel like I've done the wrong thing. I've tried to do things we used to do with my dad's fiancé and my boyfriend's mom, but it's not the same and I just miss her more even though she probably doesn't miss me at all. I wish I could see her, but I don't want to keep ruining things for myself, cause what if she doesn't want me anymore? I'd rant to my counselor about it, but I'm stuck in the hospital bed till Friday. So I guess that's why I'm back here looking for advice on what to do when I'm out of here. Third update. Hey guys, I'm posting again cause I'm confused as to what's going on and I thought maybe I'd get some opinions here before I bring it up with my therapist. Pretty much, I don't know if my mom hates me still or if now she wants to be my mom again. Because everything that she's done lately has made it so confusing. So my foot is still bad. The doctor said it's healing, but I'm mostly confined to crutches or to a wheelchair, and so I'm not really able to go to a lot of places. I mean, I can go anywhere, but I don't go cause it just takes too long to get around. I'm guessing that my cousin told my mom because apparently she came to New Westminster and did her wedding dress shopping there with my cousin and her fiancé, and she didn't even tell me. I know we hadn't talked since the therapy session, but she promised me that I would get to do that with her and she didn't even tell me. I found out because when I visited my cousin, she showed me the dresses she was going to wear at the wedding and at the reception, and the ones my mom and her got for me to wear at those. I was confused because I was sad she didn't take me, but happy cause that meant she still wanted me there. Anyway, her wedding was on Canada Day and I went with my cousin to Victoria a week earlier. My dad did say I didn't need to go, but I didn't want to miss it. We stayed at an Airbnb that my mom got for some of our relatives cause her place was too small. She didn't come to visit me there, but my cousin went to meet her and I didn't go cause my foot was hurting really bad. When she came back, she said my mom was really disappointed I didn't come as well. The day after, I was going to go shopping downtown with my cousin, but then my mom came. Like when she saw me, she didn't give me a hug like she usually gives. She just kinda held my shoulders and gave an awkward kiss on the cheek and said she's glad that I decided to come. Then she kind of turned me over to my aunt, my mom's cousin, to go shopping with instead cause she and my cousin would be busy that week with all the wedding stuff and making sure it all went perfectly so we couldn't go downtown. I love my aunt, so it wasn't bad going downtown with her. She didn't even mind pushing me in the wheelchair, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. 2 days before the wedding, they had this really big family dinner where my mom and her wife were introducing people to their relatives. Because my foot got swollen and the boot was hurting it, I had to go in the wheelchair. So my mom didn't even introduce me to people, and one of the few times I was able to talk to her, this guy related to her wife interrupted us, asked who I was, and she just said don't worry about her, and then had an aunt of mine wheel me away. That made me really upset, but I did feel a bit better because her fiancé's parents brought gifts for me. Not my kind of stuff. I think they thought I was younger than I am. The wedding itself was cool. My foot wasn't badly swollen then, so I was able to use my crutches. My mom acts so differently then and made me take a bunch of pictures with her and with her fiancé, and she seemed so happy and told me that it was the best day of her life only because I came. At the reception, I wore the dress that she got me, but I couldn't walk in the crutches while wearing it. Not like the wedding one. So my aunt made me go in that dress and in my wheelchair even though I didn't want to. And my cousin said I could wear a different dress, but my aunt was like, my mom got the dress specially for me and will be upset if I don't wear it. Then at the reception, I wasn't seated at the table with family near the stage where she and her fiancé sat, but at a table with kids I didn't even know, even though some of my relatives younger than me were at the family table. My aunt said they moved me there because of my wheelchair, but I just don't get why I couldn't be with my family. My mom didn't even take a photo with me at the reception. She just came to me once and said hi, and I wasn't even in the family photo cause we didn't bring my crutches cause of my wheelchair, so my aunt said my mom told them to leave me cause they couldn't fit me in. Then the day after we were going home, my mom came to say goodbye to us. She talked to me alone for a minute and then she said sorry for everything that happened between us before and that she was hoping we could get past it, but if we couldn't, she was still happy. I came to her wedding. I didn't really get to say anything, cause she just hugged me and sent us on our way. I don't feel that sad about everything anymore though, cause I think that the antidepressants have been helping. I have been feeling happier for about a month now and nothing has happened to me like I was afraid. For the last 2 weeks, my mom has been texting good morning and good night again when I didn't do anything, like text, call or phone or FaceTime since the therapy session with her. It hasn't been more than that, but I've been saying it back. I'm just confused with the way she's acting and what she wants. Do you guys have any clue or advice? Edit. I wish I could say thank you to everybody who has commented and given advice. I'm sorry if I didn't respond to you personally, but it means so much to me that you guys cared. I've read everything and I will be bringing up a lot of this with my counselor. Thank you guys so much. I love you all. Fourth update. So I got a phone call from my mom and I did answer, cause I guess I was curious, cause she's only been texting me since her wedding and she said she wanted me to come over, and even though I was really missing her, because I was going to go with my uncle's family to Seattle that weekend, I said no. I think I would have said no anyway because I was just planning on staying away like everybody here suggested, and My counselor also said that it might be good to define my life without her. She said okay, but then the day after, I think she phoned my dad because he said that I had to go to Victoria instead. I told him I didn't want to go, but we ended up arguing and he said that I didn't have a choice and my uncle would take me somewhere when I got back. So my dad dropped me and my cousin off at the ferry, and when we got to Victoria it turns out my mom and her wife, I guess stepmom now, moved into their new house. My mom's wife wasn't there cause she was in Ottawa for work, but her parents did come. They're really nice. They kind of went on about how they thought they'd never have grandkids and were so happy when they learned my mom had me. They did offer to get me some presents this time, but my mom let them take me to dinner at some pierogi place downtown instead. I don't know what to think about the visit because so much of it was good, but the one bad part was really bad. When I got there I wanted to talk to her about the stuff at her wedding and everything else, and I wanted to tell her that I would rather have gone with my uncle, but then I just felt really nervous and just couldn't because I don't know, I kind of felt like I'd just ruin the entire trip if I did. So I just didn't, and maybe that was the wrong thing. The first thing I noticed in her house was her giant graduation picture where she's holding a baby me above the fireplace. Then my mom surprised me by showing me my room, and it's perfect. I have a huge bed, a big personal washroom, a walk-in closet, one of those fancy standing desks, and a TV. It's all white cause my mom was like, when my foot is better she wants me to come and paint and decorate it all with her. She even promised she'd never let anybody use the room even if I'm not there that often. The first night after I got back from the pierogi place, my mom, my cousin and I stayed up so late just watching TV, and I even fell asleep hugging her. The next day we went downtown and my mom took us shopping and then to the Royal British Columbia Museum, the one with the mammoths. My foot and my hands really started hurting after my mom made me use my crutches and not wheelchair because she said it'd be good exercise, so then she took us to a spa. We took so many pictures and I'm pretty sure she put them on Instagram, but I'm not allowed on it anymore, so I'm not sure. I was really tired when we got back, so I conked out right away, and when I woke up in the morning, Mom actually brought me pancakes in bed because of my foot, cause I love it when she makes those. The rest of that day was good too, except at night my mom said that when I moved in for university, we could make every day like this, so I reminded her that I might go to University of British Columbia instead. We got into a really big argument about university and I did scream at her and bring up stuff from before, but pretty much my mom said that she wants me to go to University of Victoria. If I still want to do software engineering, and said that if it was any other kind of engineering I wanted to do she wouldn't mind paying for the University of British Columbia, but that it's not good for software. She did say she would still pay no matter where I went, but she'd be really disappointed if I chose not to go to the best university for my degree where I could stay with her, just cause I blamed her coming out and moving for everything bad that's happened to me since then. She also said I needed to stop exaggerating how bad everything has been because it shouldn't make me change my university plan. I tried telling her that's not what I meant, but I couldn't say it right, and I fucking started crying and she seemed to get really mad. She didn't yell or anything, but she just gave a frustrated sigh and said I needed to stop crying, grow up, and accept that she handled things the best way she could and my attitude problems were why it's been a bad year for us. That just made me cry more, and she said if I don't grow up I'm never going to get a husband, and then left the room. I just kind of kept crying cause I don't feel like any of that is true, and the husband part was so fucking weird and I honestly can't stop thinking about that part specifically. Half an hour later, she came back with water and made me drink and started telling me how if I want to do computer or electrical or any other engineering she'd support the University of British Columbia but not the University of Victoria. Is the best for software outside of Waterloo, and she doesn't want to send me so far away but will still pay for it if that's what I choose. I don't know why she wanted to keep talking about that, but I didn't, so I just agreed when she said she'll take me to talk to an advisor to convince me next time I come over. Me and my cousin left early the next morning, so yesterday. And my mom said she'd try and come over for my birthday because her in-laws really wanted to attend, and that she'd try and make an appointment at the University of Victoria. Once my foot's better. The thing is that argument was the one bad thing about that visit. Everything else would have been perfect because it was just like it used to be with her, and I don't even know if I'd be posting if it had been, but I just can't stop thinking about the stuff that she said when we argued. I don't even know why she said the husband thing. I just don't get what the fuck she meant by that, or why she would bring it up. I'm not going to smash my phone this time, but I do feel mad thinking about it. I told my cousin about the argument we had on the way back, and she told me she personally thinks I should go to University of British Columbia and would try to convince my mom, but that she thinks she just wants me to live with her again. I told my dad and his fiancée about it, and he apologized for making me go but said that he had to. He and his fiancée have checked on me a dozen times already. Like, I'm get that stupid fucking feeling in my stomach again every time I think about it, and I wish I'd been able to go with my uncle instead. But I am going to spend the rest of the week at his apartment, so I guess it's fine. I'm going to go to my counselor again today before my uncle picks me up. Does anybody have any advice for me that I can bring up? 'Cause we went through comments posted here last time. Fifth update. So some stuff has happened. I've pretty much just been texting with my mom since my visit to her. I tried to keep it good night, good morning, but when I didn't respond to her other messages, she phoned my dad and he told me I didn't have to phone her but to at least respond to her other messages. I did have to go to Victoria for Thanksgiving because her wife's whole family was going to be there and she told my dad I had to go. I was only there for 3 days with my cousin and the first 2 days, my mom pretty much spent with me and it was like it used to be again. Like she and I went shopping. We even cuddled to sleep watching TV again, but the third day she and her wife were focused on the dinner and guests and everything, so I get it. Yeah, I was upset that she paid really little attention to me, but her wife's entire immediate family was there and I get that she needed to focus on them. But when we left after dinner, we had to take the really late ferry. My mom said bye and that she was going to book a meeting at the University of Victoria to take me to and didn't even give me a second to talk about it before waving us bye. And then it went back to just texting good morning, good night until my birthday. So then my mom and her wife came with her wife's parents because my mom was like they really wanted to celebrate my birthday. I guess they're my step-grandparents, but I really like them and they seem to really like me too. I mean, my step-grandma said the best thing about the wedding was that they finally got a grandchild and they brought a lot of presents for me. They have a niece around my age and they had her go out with them and just get so much stuff that they think someone my age will like, and I do like it. My mom got me an album of pictures of us and said to look at the photos whenever I miss her 'cause it'll make it like she's right there with me. At the party, mom and dad seemed to get along just like when they were married. Like they were laughing, telling jokes and even had me do goofy pictures with them like we all used to. Mom's wife got along with dad's fiancé and with my uncle, his son and his son's wife. My mom didn't talk to my uncle at all beyond when he came to say hi to her and she said hi in a really mean tone to him, which was weird since they used to be so close. I guess she's still mad at him for when I talked to him about what was going on. She was really weird with my boyfriend and was nonstop making jokes about him and me getting married and making her a grandma. She straight up said to him, I don't want you to wait until I'm gray and in my 40s to make me a grandma. But his mom also got in the jokes, so I guess it was just a mom thing. My mom and her wife left after only about an hour and a half in order to go stay at a fancy hotel all the way over by Cole Harbor, even though my dad did offer them a room. Mom just said she doesn't feel it'd be appropriate to stay in the same house as him and it's too painful for her, 'cause she designed the house when I asked her why she couldn't stay. It did piss me off 'cause they came at 4 o'clock and so when everyone was setting up I guess that means they missed the actual party. My step-grandparents stayed though and only left in the morning when my mom and her wife came to pick them up. Then at like 8:30, my mom FaceTimed me but it looked like she and her wife were in the hotel spa or something. It doesn't make sense 'cause I thought those closed pretty early in the day but they were wearing those robes and looked like they were someplace really fancy. Then my mom was like she has to hang up 'cause she doesn't want me to see them without clothes on and they were both giggling at that. That really fucking pissed me off that they ditched my birthday to go hang out in a spa. Maybe they were actually doing something else but I honestly don't want to even think about that beyond what I have. Then there was the album that she gave me as a present. I didn't really think about that a lot then because I was just happy that she came. But I did try yesterday because my dad's fiancé was meeting with some of her relatives for last-minute planning because her and dad's wedding is on Sunday. I wasn't with them because I was studying but when I did leave my room to get my charger I heard them talking about me. My dad's fiancé was saying the best stuff about me but her relatives were saying some shitty things about my mom and she wasn't stopping them. She was also talking about how my mom is forcing my dad's hand to send me to her over winter break instead of my uncle's cause that's when their honeymoon is. I didn't mean a spy and I get now that I'm writing about it that what they were saying wasn't exactly wrong and they were only saying it because they didn't think I'd hear but it really fucking pissed me off and it still does. So because I was upset I looked at the album and it's pictures of both of us from when I was a baby until now. Behind each picture she slid a note about why that memory is special or what the picture means to her if she can't remember. But it just made me angry because of how few photos there are from after she moved to Victoria. Most of them are the ones of the wedding day and barely anything before that. There's one photo in it that was like a month before she came out and it's when she lived at my cousin's house and pretty much I surprised her with cookies that my cousin and I made that day. When I surprised her, she hugged me so tight and told me she was so proud of me and my cousin took the photo on her phone. But that night I found her crying in her room and she said it's because I'm growing up and said something like how she wishes she could live in moments like that forever since she's so proud of me. And it just makes me so mad because that's what I want back and the fact that I'm not even in photos of her pre-wedding events and reception and so much other stuff in Victoria just makes it seem as if the album is her giving me proof that I've barely been in her life and that I should be happy for it. And I know I shouldn't be thinking that because she actually gave me such a good gift and I'm poisoning it in my own mind instead of valuing it and all the memories inside. My therapist has been trying to help me define life without her and it's hard because I don't want to because I can't let go of this feeling that it could be good again and I don't want those people to be right. My therapist says it's all right to want that but for my own sake I need to in case it doesn't ever happen and it'll help once I'm in university so I've been trying but I hate it. So, I guess I came here again to ask for advice and stuff I can bring up in therapy. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I also thought that perhaps the grandparents-in-law saw how little OP was being acknowledged and wanted to change that. If they were really crazy about having a grandchild they would probably want a genetic one. I think they might possibly be decent people trying to help that poor neglected kid. Op's mother is a cruel, disgusting human being. Comment 2. I get that feeling too. Mom was completely okay with leaving her old life, her daughter, behind, until wannabe granny-grandpa started wanting to be involved. Now daughter has value. It's so infuriating that all these adults, minus the uncle, keep blaming shifting onto her, like why does this kid have to make all the goddamn adjustments in behavior and attitude? Of course she is depressed that her mom threw her away. But this kid keeps acknowledging, and she could be handling things better instead of making them worse. She isn't. It is normal to be mad at mom for treating her like an unwanted wedding crasher. She justified every shitty thing as something she, the kid, could have done better. No. She could have had a teenage meltdown when mom ditched her for the wedding dress shopping or when she didn't even introduce her at the wedding. Being put at the kids' table. Fucking police. Comment 3. The husband comment makes way more sense now if she wants her to have kids. That's totally why she said that. She wants her daughter to have kids so the in-laws have grandkids. That's totally it. Why would a lesbian make a comment like that to their daughter? It seems so weird and not something a gay person would say. But if she wants her daughter to have kids, of course she wants her to have a husband. She probably wants to speed that process along. What a fucking awful thing to say to your 16-year-old daughter while she's crying. Instead of being empathetic and understanding, she dismisses her feelings, insults her, then tells her she won't ever get a husband. I hope this girl realizes she doesn't need her mom. She's not at fault, and she gets better with her depression. My family is trying to make my golden child sister the bride at my wedding. I'm planning my revenge. I'm getting married, and my family wants my golden child sister to go down the aisle in white. I'm going to take my revenge. Here I am, writing this lengthy story on my vacation, but it seems cathartic to finally get it out. My hubby is more enthused about this than the resort drinks. This is a throwaway because I don't have a Reddit account, and my spouse, the Reddit fanatic, has stated that he does not want this affiliated with him. As for why the Reddit person isn't writing this, he said that because it's my family, I should be the one to write the tale. But he's over my shoulder to help out. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure how this works, but I do not give permission for this to be reposted anywhere. I believe it is vital to provide some context to explain how this behavior escalated and why our responses were as they were. I am sorry for the long read. My parents have always shown more affection for my sister. I do not mean in subtle ways either. If my sister accuses me of something, they will believe her and punish me. They wouldn't believe me if I accused her, even if I had undeniable evidence. They'd still give her a lighter punishment while simultaneously scolding me. My birthday cake had to be the flavor she preferred, hers did not. My parents always denied knowing I disliked that style of cake. They always paid a little more for her than for me. We went where she wanted, even though it was an occasion that was supposed to be about me. My sister grew up pampered and disliked me. She used me as a punching bag. She generally ignored me at first, but when we were early teenagers, things got pretty ugly. I'm not sure what caused it, but she lost all of her friends and her conduct deteriorated. Did her buddies relocate? Did they leave her because she was mean? I don't know because we were never close, and my parents loved to brag about her accomplishments while never mentioning any problems. Unlike me, they enjoyed continuously pointing out my weaknesses as taunting material. I just knew she had none because we went to the same school and I observed she was no longer roaming around with other people. Anyway, she didn't have any friends. I did. I used to be fairly popular. My sister noticed this, and I went from being an occasional punching bag to a despised somebody she had to eliminate at all costs. She began accusing me of more of everything. She charged my friends with numerous transgressions. My parents stopped letting me hang around with anyone. Their explanations ranged from "they're not decent people according to your sister," to "why are you attempting to leave us? Why won't you enjoy family time and be like your sister?" Extended family gave me something to prevent total solitude. My cousins and I got along despite minor age disparities. Most of my relatives resided in the same town. They invited me over to something at one occasion. I regrettably said, I'm not allowed to go anywhere. I don't recall what. My child self, without thinking through it, said that it was because I wasn't allowed to have friends since my sister didn't have any. That got to the grown-ups, who supposedly split my parents apart later. It was worth it even though I was grounded, as if I had someplace to go, for a month and was chastised for lying. After that, they let me some freedom. And my sister started a different school. She begged to be changed, and I suppose the humiliation of extended family knowing her socio-economic level was terrible. Though it cost more since the school was further away, my parents complied right away. At the new school though, she befriended others. She never returned to the former norm of largely ignoring me though. She never let me go. I suppose she was enraged that I informed her family she had no friends and felt the power of how badly she could screw with me. My life continued to be miserable. Her pals would visit and harass me and my parents would label it light teasing. My parents were terrible hosts to friends, so I never invited anyone over. My sister would accuse them of pilfering items, and they would believe her. My parents never dared to do any of that to relatives, hence I did get close to my cousins. I then landed my first boyfriend. Though my parents pushed, I absolutely wanted not to bring him home. We were split once, and he came to locate me informing him that my sister was flirting with him. She meant she arrived in underfitting clothes, battered her lashes severely, and began telling him how horrible I was and how good she was. Angry, he bolted off to locate me. Naturally, my sister told my parents a different story, that my boyfriend had tried to flirt with her but she had naturally objected since, how could she do that to me? Try to guess what my folks thought. My guy was not perfect now, but I accepted him right away for a cruel reason. But keep in mind that I was a teenage victim of harsh treatment back then. Originally disliked my sister as much as I hated myself, I was extremely resentful and moody. Having that disclaimer clear the path, let us now discuss appearances. They weren't relevant, therefore I hadn't discussed them yet. Since my sister loved displaying love by food, giving you more food, buying sweets, etc., my sister was also overweight. My parents were overweight as well. Whereas I am not now and was not. Actually, I have always been really slim as punishment sometimes meant no snacks or treats. Obviously, personality is what counts. Weight is not. Even then though, my sister was already spoilt and unpleasant. She never learnt to work for anything since she could demand and my parents would supply, hence even her flirting efforts were awful. Not to mention that she didn't seem like some beautiful model. Not even my self-conscious young self thought my boyfriend would attempt and cheat on me with her. My parents forbade me from dating such a bad lad, nonetheless. Though it was difficult, I did try to keep going in secret until the relationship broke. I did have another boyfriend, but once more, my sister claimed was flirting with her when he turned down her attempts. Once more, my parents believed her. I attempted pointing out how this happened once more, but they concluded that indicated I was incapable of making wise decisions and constantly choosing lousy mates. The relationship fluttered out once more, unable to manage the Romeo and Juliet scenario. In high school I would eventually be called names as I was okay with making out with guys and things but refused to form relationships. Luckily, it never got back to my parents or sister. Now, my sister did bring one man home over all this period. Until he stopped coming up, my parents spent every second reminding me how terrific he was and why I couldn't be like my sister and get myself someone like that. He was paraded with pride. He became suddenly a cunning bastard who misled my sister. Well then. And the unfair treatment carried on. She had more spending money at this time, her curfews were far better than mine, and she could go any place at any time whereas I was not free to. If I brought it up, my parents would claim it's because she's older. But I still didn't get the same treatment until I reached that age. Pointed out, they denied they ever stated that, or claimed it was because I couldn't be trusted like she was, citing my poor judgment against my partners and friends as evidence. Time passes and my sister's graduation is approaching. She had no scholarship or anything. She was admitted into a college, not a particularly esteemed one. Once more, I'm not sure which universities she ever tried for as only her successes were reported to me, hence I can't say how poorly she was turned down. She had poor marks in the classroom, though, since we would always celebrate any time she received a B. Usually I would obtain good marks, but my parents objected to celebrating since I always got those and asked what celebration would be appropriate. My parents assured my sister they would pay for everything and naturally made a lot of fanfare for her. She would be leaving, so relieving me, not that it would simplify my life. Every other weekend, she would always return home. Still, some item vanished from her room or some other problem she would consider to bring my life terrible. My curfews still were rigorous, etc. Finally, My mother came to discuss my approaching graduation. My sister is 1 year older than I am. She advised me to start working right away after graduation and wait until my sister completed college to see if they could afford anything for me since they were paying for her schooling and had no money for mine. Oh, and if I stayed at home I would have to pay rent, part of the bills, and all my stuff. I mentioned I may apply for school loans. Mom answered yes except not quite. That is because I had such poor judgment and they would evaluate whether or not a college was worth my getting in debt on given their extreme compassion for me. I didn't ask but I'm not sure how they would ban me from acquiring loans. Scholarships were not mentioned. They never believed in my ability either and had no idea what my grades were now. I did not blink at all. I said just okay. My mother continued to push plainly not expecting that. Perhaps she wanted me to act out so they might have a justification for never ever paying for my college. I only stated though, that I appreciated their concern and that I understood their viewpoint. Later, my dad tried the same, but I too refrained from showing emotions. You see, I never had any aspirations regarding my schooling after a lifetime of their horrible upbringing. I knew they would find a means to avoid paying for mine and ruin my life. Working and waiting for my sister to graduate never convinced me they would finally pay. I had long been getting ready for college. I had plenty of time to study. My friendships were few and I could hardly get out. And I studied as I saw my sole opportunity for freedom in college. When the time arrived, I worked assiduously and was awarded a scholarship. Not to some place like Ivy League or anything like law or medical school, but it was a good enough course in a solid university with a full scholarship. Knowing my sister would object and try to stop me using my parents, I posted my success on social media. I told them at the same moment, even made myself thank them in the post under duress. Now they would have to explain to the family why not, so they cannot stop me from leaving. They were first even somewhat proud and boasted about it. Then I suppose my sister arrived, and they shifted gears, even asking whether I was sure I wanted to go. They let out that my sister wasn't doing well in college. Since she was brighter and had better judgment than me, I would suffer more. I certainly stayed to my guns. Though they couldn't do anything, they were not happy. My savers were college. I began to find happiness. I still visited on holidays and such and spoke with my parents, but since they refused to pay for anything, I could explain not going a lot due of money. I skipped introducing any man to them during this period, and my sister quit attending college. She didn't graduate, since once more they would have made a hoopla over it. She returned home paying no rent or bills, but it's different, my parents noted. She began working for the same company as my mother, clearly because of her string pulling. I bought all of this to feel proud. Oh well, practically there, I swear. About this time I met my husband. You know those folks that claim, if I were in X situation, I would have done something. The kind that actually does is my hubby. I'm the type that is meek and a doormat in every circumstance, then I find myself unable to sleep at night wishing I had done something, considered something clever to say, etc. It is me that finds myself crying uncontrollably when I am furious. My hubby is the one that instantly claps back. He enjoys resolving drama as much as its production. If he doesn't react right away to a minor, you should start worrying as he won't forgive and forget. He is merely acting in a worse manner in payback. Though he wanted me to post on a nuclear revenge board as well, he insisted what we did wasn't nuclear. People were perplexed when I got acquainted with him, yet it didn't mean I didn't enjoy it since, thanks to my background, most likely, I was unable of acting like him. My husband treats people kindly as long as they treat him the same way, and I adore that he does what I cannot. When we talked about marriage, we agreed that our budget would not allow us much interest in the ceremony. Instead, we would much prefer spend on a dream vacation to Europe for our honeymoon. Regarding where to conduct it, we chose my hometown since his family was scattered and mine was still primarily concentrated there. We weren't living too far off either, so we could handle things by going on occasional weekend-long visits. There was also some work flexibility so, should necessary, we could spend some time at my hometown. A few months later, we issued the save the date and the engagement announcement. Well, at this time my folks naturally insisted they meet my man. I wanted to reject but was having trouble growing a spine. The distance had caused me to wonder maybe my folks weren't all that horrible. When I told my spouse, he looked like I canceled Christmas. At least I would guarantee they never left him alone. See, he had been getting ready for this. He even purchased a top-notch recorder he could hide in a pocket to capture everything. Driven, he considered all the ways he might turn down my sister's efforts, offend her, then forward the tape of her attempts to my family. So out he went alone and eager to see them, then returned later ecstatic. Babe, darling, the terrible things they yearned for would astound you. Babe, there are so many possibilities. We can screw them over so horrible. Though I wanted to hear the recording since I was perplexed, he wisely advised me it would be preferable to listen to him first, otherwise I might misinterpret him. He visited, and instead of the flirting, my sister and parents sat him down. My judgment, etc. They declared they were ready to pay for my wedding on one condition: my sister would walk down the aisle first, in a wedding dress, after some grumbling about not being comfortable with him. Their justification was that it was only fair if my sister got at least the experience of it, at my venue, with pictures being shot, in the dress, and she would have a cake later too, etc. It was not okay for a younger sister to marry first. My husband will type his part now. Hey, here's a resentful hubby. When his lover is mocked, hell hath no wrath like a pro-revenge, instantaneous karma, nuclear revenge lurker. Having said that, even if my wife, who is now my wife, paints me as this quick-witted guy, I admit my neurons all but short-circuited when those people legit proposed. Like, some sort of fantastic present. Even Troy would rather take in the horse a second time, methinks. After my brain reset, I did have a huge repertoire of insults ready to pour forth, but something in my soul whispered in my ear like the devil, string these along. I then claimed I had to consider how my fiancé, back then, would respond, and then hurried out before I could reveal my sinister intentions. Now back to me, the wife. With a smile on his face, my husband then truly related how my parents wanted even my wedding to be about my sister and had the recording to back it up. I looked surprised. The distance had eased their treatment of me, and I reasoned even they wouldn't travel so far. Fortunately, my husband's insistence on the angle of revenge prevented me from entering a negative headspace. We had a great time brainstorming ways to screw them over, ideas ranging from shockingly crazy to what we felt was practical. When we settled on a strategy, we then phoned his much more level-headed sibling. It included 2 venue addresses, giving the incorrect one, etc. Level-headed brother chastised us for this though. Although he admitted he would never be able to persuade us against revenge, at least he showed us anything like that would be difficult to execute. Among our other suggestions, several ran the danger of getting us sued. We finally decided on the most benign course of action. Follow our agreement, then pay security and forbid her access. Clearly, if that was it, that would not be pro-revenge. Mostly my hubby, but here goes since he wants me to do the honors. Just crucial to note, everything he accomplished was already covered with me and reflected our shared opinions. He returned to my parents, asked questions, then concluded I wouldn't be down with it. He didn't see the problem though, and his desire for family to remain intact would be in line with supporting them through that process. He noted that I dislike conflict, hence if I were shocked with it, I might not act out in front of all the people. Conversely, marriage is really important, so who knew if I would lose control? He so proposed a compromise. They would assist with expenses. In this sense, I would be even more under pressure to say nothing, since not only would we be in public with our families there, but I would be appreciative of their help, which would calm me. It was acceptable as my grown sister started skipping with delight, actually, like a child, while my parents seemed surprised. Important, my husband also claimed that, due of some horrible judgment in lovers in the past, these phrases were all my idea and I'm so proud of using their words against them, haha. I was distrustful and controlling and wanted to check his phone and whatnot to guarantee he wasn't cheating on me. This made it absolutely necessary that nothing of this strategy was ever documented. He would go over to their house to discuss any topic related to my sister coming down the aisle before me. And so started the months of lies in which my husband and I were milking my parents and sister, while they thought they were fooling me. How can this be achieved? Of course, my parents wanted input in everything. Not pay for the wedding and lay quiet. My husband would persuade me to let go of some things that meant a lot to me, like the music and color palette, so keeping me in line. But everything else was fair game. We never really cared for the ceremony to start with. We would visit, say, to review the drink and menu selections. We would then accept the lowest or second lowest price choice. Then my husband would surreptitiously bring my sister there to also try it, then sigh and remark, "It's a pity we don't want to abuse my parents' goodwill, so we wouldn't get the best option." Cue my sister insisting my parents pay for the best. After that, my parents paid for the most costly and would reassure me not to worry. Same was done with the flowers and photographer. My husband unhappily told my sister that I wanted some other tasteless flowers after handing her a bouquet of the ones we wanted. Cue my parents informing me they would pay for such flowers and wanted us to accompany them. About the wedding dress, we run across a small hitch. Though it wasn't my style and wouldn't look well on me, my parents wanted me to wear an awful dress. Okay, not overtly hideous. Our idea was to say okay and then not use it, but my mom messaged me about it so there would be evidence I said okay. We had to follow me steadfastly and in text rejecting. Going over there, my husband stated he would see what he could do. My sister advised destroying my intended dress so I would have to wear the other one. He answered as though he agreed. They truly kept communications outside any text throughout all of this. We made sure that happened by having me respond anytime my sister tried messaging my husband. They believed that and never risked anything in writing since this confirmed the I'm controlling and neurotic allegations my spouse was making. Though I'm such a doormat that the idea of being represented as controlling and dangerous is rather humorous to me, maybe some individuals might not appreciate the idea of their partner going around and talking poorly of them to family. I encouraged him on to do it. I suppose I have a distorted sense of humor, laughing here. Oh, and my sister did try to flirt with him, but he responded conflictedly also to truly sell that he was with them. Though he never told them we hired security, my husband would act to tell them information without my knowing. That was really humorous. Having really thought about a courthouse wedding to save money for our honeymoon, my husband and I ended up having an ostentatious, costly wedding and hardly spent $1. From my parents, we dubbed it back pay for emotional damages, LOL. I believe my husband. Okay, he just acknowledged I'm right, was more enjoying the whole deceiving them than he did organizing our wedding, LEL. Here we are, not as though I would have imagined it imaginable to see a man grinning at the idea of squandering his whole Saturday driving to talk wedding preparations with his in-laws. Not too far off was the day. My parents, sister and husband had devised a strategy whereby one waits until everyone is seated. The bride always arrives late, hence they would have my sister arrive at that exact moment to avoid me seeing her and trying to stop it, and she would walk down the aisle. It would be too late to act by the time I found out. Regarding my dress, we preserved some of the extra fabric from my dress changes. My husband brought that to my parents' house, my sister still resides with them even now, and presented it as evidence he had destroyed the garment. Then he stated he had to get back to me as I was fuming and he had to cool me down. She would see them at the wedding. Initially, we made sure to keep our actual security under wraps. All the visitors and my parents could see as they came was a woman with a name list to cross-reference. We brought out security, a man looking like a bodyguard, only once my parents came and sat down. We advised him not to let anyone, especially my sister, in, and even agreed on a nice tip should he fail to disclose our scheme. Not too long later the time arrived. My dad went and encouraged people to start since my parents received a text saying my sister was less than 5 minutes away. Originally instructed to follow his direction, my bridesmaids obeyed without consulting me. My dad waited at the door as though waiting for me after everyone descended and replaced each other. One buddy not in the wedding party texted me throughout this to get ready. This was because people would notice if my spouse or bridesmaids, etc., pulled out a phone and started texting. This friend was in on the plot. She's my husband's friend. And she didn't care about being a bridesmaid or anything. She was ready to assist stir drama as he is. The bridal song started playing as soon as my dad settled in. The doors opened and I followed in. At me being there, my dad became pale. He tried peering behind me, but he couldn't see the venue entrance from where we were, so he was unable to ascertain what happened to my sister. His phone then started to ring. Her was the caller ID I noticed. He merely left me there, whispered. Something came up. Around there were gasps and uncertainty. The buddy in on it inquired loudly what had happened. Lying, I said, in a sad voice, he told me it wasn't supposed to be me there. Although he said nothing, my husband and I decided that I should tell him to appear the worst possible should he dare leave me. Regarding the tears, I wish I could claim it was only my great acting, but no. Despite all, a part of me didn't think he would go as far as to abandon me there. Though only a clever joke, I felt the sister thing was untrue. Unknown. I was hurt, still am, so I was truly trying not to cry. Then the friend yelled, "What did he mean by it shouldn't be you?" So that as many people as possible might hear and disseminate it. I will go and check, she remarked quickly and hurried off. We decided to do this so she might create hell with the security and block my dad from returning to halt the ceremony or whatever. My mother also departed eventually. My husband's dad hurried over at this point and grabbed my arm. He had been informed he might have to. I started to smile seeing him sprint to me. Walking down the aisle to whispers, I listened to people talk about what transpired. Some presumably left to also check. Still, all was good when I got to my hubby. Joking that my depressed expression was so real I deserved an Oscar and not to worry, he would sweep them over the coals for what they did, LOL, and help me feel better. We tied the knot without incident. My parents did not return. During the celebration, I did observe a lot of individuals leaving and then returning. None of them ventured to tell me what was happening. My husband left after someone came to speak in his ear. After some while, he returned with a stormy look but whispered in my ear that he had to hide somewhere before he broke character and started laughing. LOL. What happened is it went right. From friends, relatives, the security guard and my spouse, the following is the combined story I got later. My sister did show up wearing a bridal dress. By our arrangement, the security turned her away. Since there was already a bride, he said she should be in the incorrect place. Indeed, we gave him quite good tips as promised. Claiming he never known him, thus he couldn't be working there, my dad went there and attempted threatening him with the police. The security agreed to the police as he was engaged by us and performing his duties. By then my dad knew it would be too late and tried to insist he let my sister inside. By now the friend arrived, began yelling and disparaging my sister and asked what was going on, basically stalling. Shortly later, my mother arrived. Later on others too. The wedding scheme was bust at this time. Now all my parents could do was damage control since everyone who knew about it would attempt and pull it, yelling and berating them. The three naturally said it wasn't a secret and threw my spouse under the bus. My hubby called at this point. He presented his finest confused and denigrated appearance when he arrived and denied. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. LOL says, quoting him. He claimed never to have agreed to anything so ludicrous. He sought evidence when they insisted he did and naturally they couldn't find any. Every SMS exchange they produced focused on typical wedding decisions. Apparently sitting on the floor thrashing her legs like a toddler, my sister was scream-crying. Though security and other people held him back, my dad seemed like he would have beat my husband. They said, of course, they lacked evidence as my husband advised them against texting. Laughing, my spouse remarked, "Wow, how convenient, huh?" Then he reiterated, why would he ever agree to something so absurd? He tore them a fresh one about being terrible parents, then turned back to me saying he wouldn't let their dumb ideas and lying ruin his wedding. Nobody thought they true. Although the location has cameras, they refused to show me the tape since that was just for security needs. Some others, though, recorded portions of it. It was amazing to see everyone who came out to watch the drama break apart my parents and sister. One of the finest wedding presents was seeing them have taste of their own medicine after years of being accused of things and not believed. While my sister was still on the floor screaming and wailing, my mother was crying and my dad was switching from purple to white. People were questioning, why would my husband agree? They insisted my spouse was in on it. Why was there no evidence? Why would they want my sister to act in this way with my wedding? To any of it, they had no decent response. They had no choice but to leave when they were eventually instructed to. Apparently, my dad had to drag my sister up since she wouldn't leave the floor. Once more, folks said nothing to me all night. I suppose they wanted to spare me, maybe because I was the bride and not just a guest for once, but it did felt like everyone was especially trying to be friendly, upbeat about everything. LOL, my hubby believes all the pricey food they were consuming really helped. We had a fun. For only a few period, my spouse kept the feigned angry expression before flushing in smiles once more. We then visited the hotel to catch some sleep before starting our honeymoon. Speaking of which, we rejected since my parents tried to pay for our aircraft tickets but we felt that was dangerous as they could attempt and cancel them or something. Of course, the three have tried to get in touch with me throughout that entire process. I turned away calls as my husband insisted on maintaining a paper trail. Smart thing, since my sister messaged me finally. She blamed me for her humiliation. Called my husband a two-faced snake that misled her for months. She wants to print and put that on our wall, LOL. And hoped, but was also sure, that I would be cheated on by him. It was quite unhinged and lacked much sense. She also implied he was cheating on me with her. My husband actually grabbed my phone, screenshot the call records, screenshot my sister's message, screenshot some messages from my parents asking I pick up the phone, and shared all of it to my family group chat. He continued up the deluded I never agreed to anything act and even threatened to sue them for slander and harassment, while sending screenshots of messages to him whereby they called him names and threatened him. As I was being tormented by them continuously, he sent a note pleading my family for help on said group chat. Then finished neatly with a demand that they not share our locations to avoid my parents sending my sister over and claiming he had somehow agreed to pretend to her in our honeymoon suite, then begged family to help stop them from trying to ruin my honeymoon now that they had failed to ruin my wedding. My family reassured him they would take care of it. Since then, we have had quiet. My sister's non-compliance disappointed my husband, who then tore her a new one and told another about it. We'll find out if it holds true. All in all, even if I would definitely like a normal, loving family at my wedding, at least once in my life, They not only failed to damage something significant to me but also helped me to get it back. Extra information. Why do they treat me like this? I suppose you all will think the same, as I've asked this question quite a lot. I still ponder this. I have wondered this all my life. I tried asking when I was little, but they denied any difference and chastised me for acting spoiled. So I gave up. Though I have various ideas, based on what I have seen, I believe it to be this. I was not supposed to be. After so long, they were wanted not just but also like a miraculous child, as they took some time to have my sister. Given our age gap is really little, I believe they didn't use enough protection much too soon after my sister's birth, or expected to have a child so quickly or easily. Perhaps they were stuck with an unplanned kid while still adjusting to a newborn, since they didn't know my mom was pregnant until it was too late. They disliked me since they are not very wealthy, and the additional cost probably did not help. That is only my speculation though. Still, I have acknowledged the response won't really matter. Whichever they did to me, it was unnecessary. Actually, did they believe this would work? After our conversation, my husband and I developed the opinion that they absolutely never wanted to do this at all. They presented my spouse that ridiculous suggestion. We believe my sister pitched a fit over my being married first when she hardly gets dates. They didn't want to pay for my wedding and didn't think we would accept, or that it would even look good for them to do, but by suggesting it and being turned down, they could look like the kind guys to my sister while having a justification not to pay $1. My husband then agreed though, and they couldn't undo or else run the danger of my sister turning on them. Arrogant boss fires expert, leading to £800K project disaster. Sweet revenge unfolds, but the story ends in tragedy. Who am I? Do you know? It backfires on an egotistical manager when a $800,000 project goes off course because he sacked an invaluable staff member. First of all, this never happened to me. I was with the individual when they got a call concerning this problem. Then he walked me through it all. He is not on Reddit, hence I am sharing it. It is valuable. Every name has been modified to guard corporate and personal identities. The plot depends much on listed structures. There is a mechanism in place in the UK for maintaining historic and significant constructions. A building deemed historically significant is referred to as a listed building. The guidelines for its evolution, preservation, and enhancement are rather rigorous. I have to be obscure about the labor involved. Else, it would be too simple to name the people engaged. David, a buddy of mine, is quite specialized in a very small field of building. Using a very ancient building technique not used for several millennia, he fixes and renovates buildings. His whole output focuses on listed buildings and conservation projects. Work needed on a Grade 1 listed property. ACC Limited, the major contractor, was handling the building generally. There is quite specific study on one aspect. The architect provided a list of suitable candidates as the contractor management knew no one who had done it. The contractors selected my friend since he was most available early on. 5 days into the project, the major contractor, ACC Limited, arrived on site. David's words? He was a boisterous gobshite throwing his weight about. David ignored him while he was merely working. One of his carpenters was directed by the boisterous gobshite to make him coffee. The carpenter vanished. The noisy gobshite kept prowling and grumbling about delays costing him a lot of money. The boisterous gobshite asked my pal a question 15 minutes after the carpenter vanished. "Where's that chippy with my coffee?" asked a noisy gobshite. Chippy = carpenter. Chippy = carpenter. "David, I'm not clear." "Go and find out," a noisy gobshite says. "David, I'm only here for this job," gesturing at the walls. "I work for ACC Limited, not for you." Noisy gobshite. "It makes no difference if you're an employee or a subcontractor. You still are working for me. Now go and locate my coffee." David. "First of all, I find it offensive to be spoken to like manners. Second, my contract with you is to do these walls, nothing else. I most definitely am not a gopher." Noisy gobshite. "Oh, do you not value being spoken to in such a manner? For which subcontractor do you now work?" David. "None. I run my business alone, just me." Noisy gobshite. "A day laborer. And you have the guts to address me in such a manner? Do you know my name?" David. "Sure." "Well, you're fired," a noisy gobshite says. "Get out of the premises right away." David says, "Okay. Just get off the site," says a noisy gobshite. David grabbed out his phone and started recording. David. "Okay, I'll leave. Just want evidence you advised me to leave." Grabbing David's hand containing the phone, a noisy gobshite yelled into the phone, "Get off the site, you idiot," a noisy gobshite says. "You're let off." I'll have you thrown out if you're still here in 10 minutes. David. Cool, not problematic. He took up his gear and left. The contractor's site manager passed him, ironically with a coffee for the boss, as he was leaving and smiled. Site manager. Dave, you're leaving early? Bloody part-time kidding. David, no, your boss just sacked me. We have signed out our contract. Apologies, friend. The site manager said, No. Allow me to arrange things here. Please wait, kindly. David left the site. Knowing something the boisterous gobshite lacked, the site manager was losing his head. In the UK, just 7 persons are certified to handle the task. Every one of them had a waiting list. David had been the only one accessible. 12 missed calls by the time he arrived home. That was Thursday, 2 working days absent so far. He claimed he would go back only if he was paid for the extra days and personally apologized to the employer. I met my friend as he was answering a call from the site manager, stating the boss apologies but is out of the country, so cannot apologize personally. David also informed me he warned the other specialist over the phone, but they had all been contacted on Friday asking to be assigned work. Nobody picked up the work. They were all booked full. To warn him, David also called the architect. Under such circumstances, some dishonest builders attempt to falsify the work and bodge the job. David is going to keep his guns. Money for all missing days plus a face-to-face apologies. He is positive he will grasp it. I mentioned I would pay anything to see the in-person apologies. Update 1. The site manager called to inform David he was advised by the noisy gobshite to threaten legal action should David fail to complete his work. The site manager became really ashamed and apologetic. David reminded him he left and had documentation proving he was let go. The site manager called once more to inform the noisy gobshite will be personally apologizing on Friday. Could David begin tomorrow? David said no. Following the legal action threat, the criteria are different. Before work starts, a face-to-face apology. Additional compensation for lost days. Paying the whole contract value up front before work starts. All of this has to happen on Thursday. He can start today and still expect to finish before his next reservation. Should he work weekends as well, he has just enough time. I questioned him about why he isn't charging the man who is such a wanker a hefty extra fee. He remarked it's not the done thing to take advantage of businesses under time constraints, it looks bad. One of my pals apparently is a guy from the 18th century. Edit. When David mentioned just 7 others do this work, I misinterpreted him. He intended 7 different companies distinct from his own. Since they are small companies, he argues it is most likely just about 20 persons capable of doing it. Still a limited amount, although not as humorally tiny as 7. I apologize for misled all of you regarding the count. Update 2. Sadly, an apology appears unlikely. David has found that the site manager was sacked for not alerting the noisy gobshite of the circumstances earlier. David told the operations director for ACC Limited, the second noisy gobshite, that he would not be returning to the position so an apology is not needed. Apologizing for everything, the operations director promised to very liberally renegotiate the money. David informed him he had only thought about returning to the position as a personal courtesy to the original site manager. He feels no need to go back as he is not there. The operations director indicated he will contact David but omitted any explanation. Why he didn't say, give him his job back, or I won't come back, I wondered. David remarked the boisterous gobshite is too weak and petty to be guided by a craftsman. It will have to be the concept of the company for the site manager returning. They won't bring him back if I order them to. David thinks it's difficult to obtain a job at 61 since the site manager is excellent at his work but only 4 years from retirement. I have decided that David appeals to me even more than 3 days before. 3 updates. It is 2 in the morning here. We just came out of the bar. David answered a call from the dismissed site manager while we were out. David reported the circumstances to the architect this afternoon. The architect got in touch with the terminated site manager to let him know about a company needing a site manager. Just before 9 p.m., the dismissed site manager called David. I had to sit through the one-sided phone call. I had to have looked like I had a house full of sparrows, childishly thrilled. Then David filled in for me. The site manager rang to thank him and find out his preferred drink so he might bring him a bottle. He is seeing them on Friday even though he does not yet have the new job. The architect is hopeful since apparently his advice has some weight. David first rejected. David, I didn't not get you a job. The architect done. Site manager. But you told the architect I had been sacked because of you, therefore you set all this in motion. I never have to deal with that annoying pillock ever once again. David left no clear identification for the irritable pillock. We will have to conjecture. David mentioned his drink is Cardhu Gold Reserve. He declared he would only take a bottle if A. the site manager lands the new position. B. should the site manager visit and sip the Cardhu with David. The whiskey consumption does not seem to include the attractive scribe who painstakingly and time-consumingly skillfully recorded this narrative down on Reddit. David elegantly said, "Piss off, knobhead, you can get your own drink." Except that nobody gets to see the tosspot noisy gobshite eat crow when he has to apologize. All excellent news ideally. I had great anticipation about that. David and the sacked site manager know each other outside of the office. Though two separate clubs, they are members of charitable organizations in the same location and cooperate extensively. David is Roundtable, whereas the site manager belongs to the Rotary Club. Though you never know, I doubt he is a knight. David was contacted by the operations director of ACC Limited to propose that they kindly renegotiate the money by bringing the site manager back. They have missed the boat, David says. He cannot finish the work on his own before beginning his next employment. Should all go without a hitch, there is an absolute minimum of 11 days labor left. David's next employment begins on November 4th. Assuming he works weekends, there are 10 days left. Last minute. I wish I could be a fly on the wall when the noisy gobshite is informed. Many people often ask, what does David do? If I said what it was, it would be quite identifying. I could as well tell you his actual name and address. Apologize. There are extremely few of them since it takes 5 years to become just competent and at least 9 years to be a master artisan. At least one master present is needed for the jobs done. Update 4. Bad news. The site manager who was sacked did not land the other position. He met the new company, but they are not extending an invitation to him. The explanations are not obvious. David is seeing him Sunday to go over it. Though David is not at blame, I can sense he feels guilty about it. The site manager claims he will act regarding unjust firing. Though I imagine this would be a win-win-win, I suppose life isn't like that. News about the sacked site manager. The current state of affairs is not as dire as first assumed. We misinterpreted what transpired on Friday. David chatted with him yesterday. That aspect is accurate. The employer he visited on Friday is not hiring him in the usual manner. On a distribution center build, they have, however, presented him with a fixed-term contract spanning 18 months. Though not ideal, on the plus side it pays somewhat more than ACC. Though just 18 months, it is better than nothing. Should another project surface, the new business also has the option to extend the contract. David has heard that someone Bulgarian is visiting to cover for the work. David was grinning when he informed me. He believes he understands exactly what will happen. Some 19th century Sophian structures feature a comparable but different method that was used. David believes the man will apply such an approach. Though two extremely crucial elements are different, it looks comparable. David has opted to hold off. David is going to advise the client and the planning department to verify the two components. He intends to allow the Bulgarian to finish the job and get paid. The Bulgarian will have used the incorrect tools unless he is familiar with the English approach from the 17th century. It would mean pulling it apart and beginning over. They treat this kind of work quite rigorously. Though I hardly desire this, I truly hope this comes true. I'm a minor dude. More info. Many people are wondering when David would find out whether the Bulgarian performed the work as expected. Given that there are few vendors of one of the materials, David might know really quickly. Should the Bulgarian get in touch, David will be informed. David said, "It's a tiny incestuous part of the industry, and they gossip like old women." Correction. Like older women, we all gossip. David is leaving it alone till told the work is done and the Bulgarian is paid if he does not visit there. He wants not to jeopardize the man's money. David said, "I don't want the Bulgarian to drag his arse over here and go home empty-handed just because I can't wait to drop silly bollocks. The man has a living to support him. I'm going to wait. Silly bollocks is the same person as noisy gobshite just in case of uncertainty. Unless he works weekends, the Bulgarian should finish his job in 3 weeks. David will know when the work is done as he knows several people at ACC head office and several on site. I must thus wait on my hands for 3 to 4 weeks and appear to be a non-excited 7-year-old girl not complaining about Christmas approaching." Update 5. According to David, the Bulgarian got right to it and began working. Materials have been delivered, but from an ordinary building supplier. Though they sell it in Bulgaria, the items he requires for the work are too heavy for him to carry with him. He hasn't asked for it from the UK provider. 3, but only one has enough for this work since David brought it in for her. He is therefore not using the correct materials unless he is arriving by road and ferry. Though he was not bothered by raucous gobshite, David would not let it go unrecorded. He is a purist in terms of historical accuracy and truly enjoys maintaining all the structures he works on. I therefore have to hold my water for 3 to 4 weeks. David claims he might finish earlier if he uses more contemporary materials. If you stay in the 17th century, 3 weeks is the period. About this work, I have become such a weirdo. David knew I was after information after I phoned him earlier under cover of pretext. Do you want me to fit a body cam so you can watch and hear everything as it happens? David asked me. I answered, that would be great if it would not be too much trouble and you could link me into your phone calls. Laughing, David said, you knob cheese, is it okay if I cover the lens when I'm shagging my wife? Personal Ollie, I don't do those two things at the same time, but whatever floats your boat, I said. David, you are telling me you do them separately. Me? Right after she washed all the garbage off the sheets after doing you. A few of us are finicky. David said, piss off, you're an uptight clean freak. Hangs. Not farewell, not see you shortly. English behavior is not what it once was. Though I realize it doesn't look like it, really I do have a life. I never would have thought I would be typing Update 6 when I originally started working on this. Update 6 Many news stories. 2 weeks ago the Bulgarian completed his work and returned home. Those who met Stefan the Bulgarian said he was a decent man and a really diligent worker. He worked weekends and 12-hour days to help to offset the expenses of living in the UK. David is glad he waited until Stefan paid before he reported the work, knowing what he discovered about Stefan. David already felt rather certain Stefan was not performing as required. None of the 3 companies he checked, the sole UK suppliers of the most unusual substance involved in the job, said they had an order for the site. Stefan might have imported it, of course, but nobody on site had seen an international material order. As scheduled, David thus made calls to the client, the architect, the local authority planning department, and Historic England. He waited for them to investigate after outlining his worries in the simplest, least invasive manner possible. Though it just took a few days, I can really say that I have never been that nervous or committed in anything unrelated to my pissing business. The architect produced the first report on incorrect materials and technique applied. Not the English one demanded, he had applied a Bulgarian technique from the 19th century rather than the 17th. The architect was really agitated. David Avid stated this phone call was blue, but he had never heard the architect using foul words before. The architect apparently termed the boisterous gobshite, ignorant cockwomble. David defined a womble for me. I knew nothing. Approach is welcome. Not wanting people to believe this was anything to do with him, the architect said he was going to get in touch with the local authorities. Most of the remainder came to David's second or third hand. He knows some of the staff from ACC. I wanted to know whether it was challenging to get them to tell him anything. He mentioned they lacked the quick adequate phone pickup ability. The location was visited and the work examined by the local government planning officials. They informed the contractor that the work had to be cleared and corrected since it was totally improper. Then it became fascinating. Looking about the property, the inspectors discovered a problem. It would be too simple to pinpoint the buildings involved, hence I cannot be exact about this. The builder had wrecked some of the structure. Though it was not very significant, there was an internal feature included into the roof construction. Although they were not let to, they removed it and replaced it with a far superior modern support. The project manager, the new site manager, or staff member neither understood the significance. Who ordered it to be replaced with a cheap, quick alternative rather than the slow, expensive, rebuilt option? Of course, it was noisy gobshite. Destroying anything on this kind of property is illegal, jail sentence type of crime. It's a huge fine even if they avoid jail. Everyone in that company is thus pointing fingers at one another and claiming no accountability right now. According to Noisy Gobshite, he did not direct the internal roof structural components to be removed. The project manager has email proving he did. The client asked all of the contractor's employees off the site on Tuesday, the 19th. They are currently looking over everything. They're most definitely firing the contractor. They have written guidelines for bids from fresh contractors. They will also sue the contractor for the expenses of undoing and fixing all they have done improperly. The architect's projection came at £800,000. The local government planning department wrote to the contractor detailing their mistakes and alerting them of their intentions for inspection and the likelihood of prosecution. On the day the letter arrived, Noisy Gobshite vanished to the lawyers, claims the staff. Within an hour, David received 3 calls from 3 separate ACC phones as word of the letter spread around the workforce. Now we are awaiting a few things. 1. The client's checkup. Should that prove ACC has damaged the site, the client is entitled to terminate the contractor. ACC has a huge repair debt and does not get paid. 2. Local authority inspections conducted by conservationists. Should they have destroyed elements of the property, the local government will punish ACC as a company and the individual responsible. David is rather disappointed since it is impossible to rebuild the internal framework lost. That was sitting there performing its job for 400 years until that gist stain enters the picture, he said. It goes then, and that is it. Never again. He comes across as really depressed. I'm guessing Noisy Gobshite is yearning he had his own coffee that day last month. Edit, the letter to ACC, not their actual name, did not threaten a prosecution. It simply made them aware of the intention of the planning department to send a professional to check the construction and, more especially, the changed area. Apparently, should prosecution take place, it takes eternity. My real apologies for misleading all of you. Like everyone else, I was overly eager to grab my pitchfork and start believing the worst. Wishful thinking mixed with Chinese whispers meant that the story was far more serious and advanced by the time it reached David. Though it's more likely to be in 6 months than in 6 days, Noisy Gobshite may well be prosecuted. Since I started, that represents the second correction. I promise to try to be a little more deliberate on next revisions. My error, not David's. David cautioned me that not everything that comes in your ears has to flow directly out of your tongue. You're very eager to feed the masses. Although they might believe you're currently farting rainbows, if you make a bollocks of the data, this won't last. Like always, he is correct. As uncomfortably customary. Information asked. A few have inquired about the fate of the sacked original site manager, but I wasn't sure until now. We met in the pub, David, the site manager, 2 others also. Subject to fidelity insurance checks, he most certainly has the new job. His starting date is February 9th. ACC paid him off in place of notice. Firing is done according to convention. They paid him just over 3.5 months' wages in one lump as his contract provided 3 months' notice and he was due 12 holiday/6/vacation days. He also gets to retain the car till March. I was shaking like a dog when he fired me, he added, but the wife reminded me that I could take my pension early and how much I hate that company, especially that dodgy pillage. I stopped worrying when the architect contacted me about the distribution center job. He started the new work on a somewhat better pay after landing it. The main drawback is that the employment is just guaranteed for 18 months. Although it's not certain, there's a great chance the organization will retain him following that if they have work. He first intended to bring Noisy Gobshite to an industrial tribunal for unjust dismissal. Now he won't since he won't suffer financially. Obviously, I'm glad I'm not losing money, he remarked, but I was looking forward to beating that Watson in court. He is building a better sleigh and several reindeer with the additional time right now. Certainly, a sleigh. It's on the rear of a truck. Father Christmas is on the sleigh performing Christmas carols at window-rattling volume, gathering money for charity while his company strolls the area decked as elves and snowmen. I have oftentimes been pulled into it. He brought David the promised whiskey. David advised he shouldn't, but the site manager remarked, "Why, Yorkshire men keep their word, even to a shower of soft shandy-sipping southerners like Ulan. Besides, I'm not risking breaking this lucky streak." Even the alcohol came at half price. Simultaneously pointing at him, David and I said, "A real Yorkshireman." For the uninitiated, Yorkshire residents are known for 2 things. Highly straightforward communication and financial restraint. We left the pub after ridiculing him for implying that I was a southerner and headed to the garage of the site manager so we could sip the whiskey and appreciate his sleigh building work. Would they send me some freebies if I told you all how great Cardew Gold Reserve tastes? Born close to Carnarvon, Saeeglf, I'm Welsh and am sobbing and bith, hence you have most likely seen some awful grammar. I'm full of whiskey, so right now I'm debating. It is past my bedtime. 1 a.m. Bye for now. Update 7. I believe there might be some karmic justice en route. Interviews under control have been conducted with Noisy Gobshite. It indicates they are ready for the possibility rather than that they are absolutely suing him. They will also do so with the sacked site manager next week. They also followed the same process with the project manager. The site manager is sure he has nothing to concern about. He was sacked, hence the decision was taken to remove the pieces of roof support. He added he was sure the Noisy Gobshite would have sought to assign culpability to a site manager if he had been present at the time of the illegal modification. He said, "That cowardly slope-shouldered turd would have shot all over me to save his own skin." Fortunately, the project manager has evidence in the form of an email proving Noisy Gobshite ordered the task. Noisy Gobshite sought to convince him not to forward it on to the local authority planning department. He threatened him when that didn't work. That backfired when the project manager told the investigators that Noisy Gobshite instructed him to delete the email in addition to neglecting the risks. My buddy, a lawyer, informs me that destroying evidence and meddling with a witness are crimes in of themselves. Noisy gobshite will not stop excavating a deeper hole. If he gets away without facing legal repercussions, I will be really let down. He is nevertheless, clearly in pain. The major story of the week? Noisy gobshite has been let off. After learning from no less than 4 separate ACC workers, David announced it yesterday, Saturday. They eagerly wanted to tell him, he said. Then the discussion followed this pattern. Me? How is that feasible? How does the owner find himself let off? Did he stroll up to a mirror and declare, "You're as much use as Anne Frank's drum kit, you're fired"? David: Nope. You know he inherited the company from his uncle and dad. Me: Exactly. David said, You know his brother and cousin own a slice each. Me: Anyway. David: They fired him since their combined share is over 50%. Louise, the accounts manager, told me they are pissing their pants. As long as the money came in, they were content to leave noisy gobshites in charge, but today their golden goose seems very sick. Losing this contract and the fees and penalties scares them since it will close the company. They therefore ask the customer owner to bring ACC back to complete the deal. Part of that is persuading the building owner that noisy gobshite has nothing bearing on the business. Clearly, they are putting noisy gobshite beneath the bus. According to Louise, a noisy gobshite fired at him with screaming and violent threats. He required escort off the property. He has been phoning staff members, posing queries, and acts shocked when individuals refuse to assist him. Louise claims he truly wants to be loyal to him and thinks the staff like him. The man is in cloud cuckoo land, she declared. Me? He will be really offended. I wish I could have seen the face of Numpty as it was developing. David says, It's nothing that the scrot doesn't deserve. I promised the person who told me I wouldn't tell anyone yet, hence there is another, but I can't tell you about it. Me? You tease. What relevance does it have? David: It's significant. Transformational for the theme in life. Me? I wish I could tell you. It nearly gave me a hard-on. Me? Fing hell, it must be big if it can get that ugly appending to do anything except hang there like the last chicken in the shop. David: What a drama this is. She believes I should share with her this confidentially anything I learned. Given our marriage, she expects me to be able to tell her everything. I said it's not something I keep secret. Though I had hoped I would get, I appreciate you have integrity, dear husband. No. Mrs. here is enraged since she believes I'm a knobhead. Louise's employment title and name have been changed to defend the innocent. I don't want any of you holding your breath. It looks like it will be a few months before he can provide me with this fantastic news. The building owner, client has completed their inspection. 2 portions are unacceptable, the damage section and the one David ought to have completed but Stefan did instead. They are rather unhappy. Usually, the local government believes it's the owner cutting corners when listed structures are harmed. In this instance though, the owner is an austere ancient institution committed to maintaining significant structures. They didn't enjoy having to establish they had nothing to do with the building's damage as they are not used to being accused of anything dubious. David stated it appears they have written off ACC since they have made a type of tendering request to multiple other firms specialized in conservation. Then he spewed a bunch of jargon I neither knew or recall. Me? They have asked a few firms to quote a price for the job in simple English. David says, That's a very simplified way of describing it, but I don't have the time or the crayons to explain it to you. Me? Okay, let us say they are requesting job-related prices. Condescending. Hence I was anticipating this tale would develop to a crescendo with noisy gobshites suffering something terrible. But it's just sort of faded with a whimper while we wait to find out what legal action will be pursued. Real life moves slowly, quite inconveniently. January 21, 2020. Hi there, this is Mark's wife. The moron requested me to apologize to the internet for his silence. On January 7th he was injured in an automobile accident. Though he won't be online for a little, we are confident he will fully recover. I explained it's only Reddit, but he's a compulsive freak about not disappointing others. I thus assured them I will include Reddit in the list. Here I am, informing all the folks he doesn't know why he hasn't finished imparting something they most likely aren't reading anyhow. March 2nd, 2020. Hello Mark, once more his wife. Direct messages numbered more than 200. I appreciate all of your remarks as well as your wishing of him well. I have read them all to him. I'll address the 3 most often asked questions. Mark's situation changed what? A big lorry drove straight into the rear of him while he was still stationary in his automobile about to exit the freeway. Between that lorry and the lorry ahead of Mark, His automobile was destroyed. Among his multiple shattered bones are nose, left orbital and cheekbone, left radius and ulna, forearm, left hand, right tibia and fibula, lower leg, and 4 ribs, one of which pierced his left lung. His left eye's center vision is somewhat damaged, however we hope this is transient. He needs more surgery since he has some tendon damage in his right hand and has 112 stitches overall. Though he looks like a wreck, he might heal free from any serious damage. If it were me, I wouldn't cope, but for as long as I have known him, he has always been as hard as nails. I went to pieces when I initially arrived at the hospital and he was lying there covered in blood, cables, and tubes and couldn't talk properly. In minutes, he had me giggling. He has always been really adept in knowing the appropriate response. Not being able to use his hands is the thing most bothering him right now. When ought he to change the narrative? It might take some time. Though I could ask the guy David contacted for an update, I most certainly cannot tell a narrative like Mark can. I'm obviously biased, but Mark seems to be the most entertaining man I have ever met. I start to laugh so much I cannot breathe as he and David get going. I have advised him to temporarily forget about everything but getting well. If it starts to disturb him though, I've told him I'll do some secretary role-playing and he may write the narrative to me. He will finish it. He always finishes what he starts on. I wish my self-discipline was 100th that of his. A few have inquired whether they might give him money, cards, or gifts to cover missed income or medical expenditures. Thank you so much for offering, but it's not necessary. As we live in the UK, fortunately healthcare is free. He wants none of anyone's money. There is a long-standing charity we have sponsored called Macmillan Cancer Support if anyone feels driven to do something. At last update, knowing who I am would help you. The David against boisterous gobshite narrative. The 22nd of May 2020. Slough mainly grunted, this username belonged to Mark, my spouse. He penned the narrative on his friend David and a company owner he referred to as noisy gobshite. Up until he was in a January vehicle accident, Mark had been updating the narrative. He requested me then to let everyone know he was hurt and to update the narrative after he recovered. Mark sadly died barely over a week after my previous comment. Everyone thought he was healing, but he passed out and died extremely rapidly without warning. Although the team did all they could to save him, his aorta had burst. They claimed it is not unusual in auto collisions and had most likely been damaged during the accident. Although I'm sorry I didn't update this earlier, to be honest I totally neglected this page. I discovered how many people were waiting for Mark to wrap up the narrative only after I returned to go over Mark's words once more. Though I'm not sure how many people will view this update, would you kindly forward this news to everyone you know who was waiting for Mark to respond? Many thanks. I appreciate the hundreds of people that posted get well notes for Mark. I'm sorry I ignored you all for so long. But for the past 3 months I've been bewildered. Mark would have chastised me and most certainly objected to my leaving everyone in uncertainty. Many thanks to the persons who sent Macmillan Cancer Support money. Though it seems odd to have money given in the name of mostly Gruntled. At last, I want to thank the moderators, especially /u/Marari01, for guiding me and outlining how I might notify everyone. Monday, May 24th, 2020. For the wonderful messages and virtual hugs I have seen over the past day, I am most grateful. For hours I have shed tears. One finds it difficult to define what good sobbing is when one loses someone. Those who have lost a loved one will most likely relate. Most of today has been good tears thanks to your postings and comments. Your thoughts have helped me to consider all of Mark's amazing traits and all the reasons I so much loved him. I began working on the update, then gave up around 8 times before mustering some fortitude. I am rather happy I did it. I appreciate once more the final small push I required from the moderator, /u/Marari01. It also helps me understand that I wish to undertake one more activity Mark would have liked. He consistently brought his starting work to completion. I will find out what has happened by talking to his buddies. I'll try to get myself current with everyone's outcomes. I know some of it already. I tell you ahead of time, it will be merely the facts, not like Mark's writing. Though I lack Mark's natural storytelling ability, the comments clearly indicate that many people were hoping for a resolution. The bare facts will have to be sufficient, please forgive. I'm going to talk to David, the guy he contacted. This year he has been a total rock for me. With luck, he will be able to cover all. As soon as I can, I'll input the change. I greatly appreciate it all. You are unaware of the extent this has benefited. Friday, May 25th, 2020. Mostly because to what you all wrote, yesterday I had a better day. I woke up today enraged and cannot seem to calm myself. England observes a public holiday today, And I find myself wondering what we would be doing if Mark were here. He never threw a holiday away. I'm furious since, just because some self-serving moron couldn't wait to respond to a text message, I have lost the best person I have ever known in my life. I find the stupidity and unfairness intolerable. He will spend a few years behind bars. Not one thing though, will bring my Mark back. Sorry folks. I simply needed to let out a vent. Please, kindly, avoid using your phone while driving. Also, avoid tolerating it if you notice others doing it. March 6, 2020. I want to highlight 2 points. Firstly, let me thank everyone for their comments. The lovely things you have spoken about Mark have cheered me. It took so long to tell you Mark had died since I never imagined they would. Still, you did help, even though what you said was so poignant that I broke down hundreds of times reading the great words. Second, I'm sorry for not yet answering every comment. On some days I feel I could talk about Mark all day. On others, I cannot even think of him without going to pieces. If I haven't replied to your particular comment, it's not as though I haven't read all of them. Simply said, I can't respond as I have been in a poor state portion of the time. Eventually, I will answer to everyone, much as I did very slowly with the cards during his funeral. It looked like I was climbing a mountain that wouldn't stop expanding, but I finally answered all 322 of them even though I didn't think I would get through them all. One of numerous decent habits I picked up from Mark is finishing what I start. I only want to hear him once more calling me Carrot. Carrot is a Welsh term for love. My name is not Welsh. July 27, 2020 at 3:10 a.m. Whoa, I hadn't been online for a few days and now hundreds of messages show up. I can't sleep once more, and it came to me that I could change what happened to every one of the characters Mark had penned. It's just the facts. It won't have Mark's style or humor, it's just basic knowledge. Still, it's the most I can accomplish and more than nothing. Starting in the new post on a building project for a distribution center, site manager followed plans exactly. Mark had already mentioned what David and the site manager were dissatisfied about. Though that was before the coronavirus, being on a fixed 18-month contract as a self-employed individual was a drawback when compared to being an employee. Most of the staff were let go after the virus struck. Some were furloughed. The contract required the corporation to maintain paying the site manager whole. What he considered to be a negative aspect turned out to be a saving agent. The last David could tell me about Noisy Gobshite was that he no longer owns a third as he had to sell his part of the company under pressure. Regarding his assets, he had to sign a personal liability agreement in case total obligations exceeded the company's worth. According to what I understand of it, Noisy Gobshite must pay the extra, even if it means he loses his house, if for example, the total bills for his mistakes are higher than the company can pay. They couldn't continue trading if he was participating, hence he had to give up his part of the company. He needs them to carry on paying the attorneys. Though he hasn't been charged with a crime yet, he most certainly will. Something to do with wanting to be ready to go to court once he is charged. They take their time researching and being ready before they charge him. It also came to light that he warned of similar, but somewhat more minor, damage to a listed property in 2011. According to David, some anomalies found by the local government during the inquiry were forwarded to HMRC, the taxman. Also under investigation for that scam is Noisy. One of the first remarks on Mark's post was expensive cup of coffee, an understatement if ever I've seen one. The major headlines would be on Noisy Gobshite and the sexual assault, rape, of one of the PAs in the ACC headquarters in 2017 as well as sexual harassment of other employees. Though it wasn't boisterous Gobshite, the sexual assault occurred. It was former finance director. Stories of sexual harassment of female employees have not evolved and proved to be mere gossip. David. Working on his own and without social distance problems, he's most likely one of the few persons who were not impacted by the COVID-19 epidemic both financially and practically. He has carried on rather as normal. Job is easier, he stated. The usual plonkers are not there to trip on my equipment or stick plank ends into my finished work. David is not doing personally very well. David took Mark's death worse than anyone else outside his family. He tries not to show me this. He is a rock when he is with me. He has kept me from falling. Among 3 persons, he is the one I feel I can truly let go concerning Mark, or so I thought. David's wife was really nice and empathetic when I spoke with her last week, but she had to tell me to hold back a little with David. Although his wife claims he is shattering, he seems strong to me. She says he has taken Mark's death extremely severely. I thought he and Mark were close friends. She claims that in all their marriage, she only saw him cry once, that of their dog's death. When his parents deceased, she missed him crying. She notes he seems lost now and has sobbed quite a few times. The worst thing to find out is that his crying period falls after his visit with me. I'm awful. He obviously was mourning, but I had no idea I was burdening him so much. I'm going to cease venting all my suffering and be more cautious utilizing him. I wish he had said sooner. Maybe I should have known about it instead of being so self-servingly preoccupied with my own loss. That is as far as I'm aware of the updates cover. They are ready to observe his charged with noise. Should he be found guilty of damaging classified buildings, he might find himself imprisoned. Should he be found guilty of fraud, he will almost surely be imprisoned. In either case, the fines will be 6 figures. David mentioned wondering whether he would like prison coffee. His sense of humor is dark. July 27, 2020, at 3:10 a.m., there were alerts for 512 private messages and comments when I first arrived online earlier. I have no idea where to start. If you have written, kindly please not assume I am not appreciative as I have not responded. I felt fit to write at 3:10 a.m., hence I updated. Right now, I doubt I could accomplish it. I have been staring at our weddings video. Though I believed it might help, I feel like a bus has knocked me down. I was devastated by Mark's speech. He discussed our meeting and his return to the house he shared with fellow Royal Marines. One among them asked Mark, "What's the joke then? You're once more smiling about something. Come on, what's so funny here?" Mark claimed he couldn't and wouldn't explain it to them. He just couldn't stop smiling every time he considered our date. Every time he thought of me, he claimed, he felt that. It made me grin and started me to cry on our wedding day, but this morning it broke me. I believe the agony is growing worse rather than becoming less. It bothers me too. All through me I feel it. I can't stop it. All I can think of lately is wish I had been in the car with him if I cannot have him back. Being an atheist, he always advised, this is all you get, so don't dare waste any of it. Therefore he wouldn't approve of me harming myself. It's just so difficult to keep going with this suffering. I doubt I can. I simply want it stopped. I apologize for carrying on like way. I would convey this to those I know since they worry, but writing here is like shouting into a diary. I apologize to all of you. Though I try to control things, I miss him so much and I can't stop it hurting. What should I do is unknown. August 31st, 2020 is. Although I responded to hundreds of messages since last updating this post, I did not get through all of them. Though the screen says I still have 92 waiting. I cannot see or read any more of the messages in chat. Should you not obtain a response, you fall into the 92. Our anniversary yesterday, August 30th. Though I was looking forward it, when it came it was sort of empty. I cried when I viewed our wedding film. I replied to a few messages. Halfway through one message, I became abruptly overwhelmed with the knowledge that all the happiness I will ever experience in my life had already passed by. Every future endeavor I try will just be rewritten as Mark should be here but he isn't. Everything from here till I die is simply life. Just breathing and watching the days pass. Without Mark, it seems quite meaningless. I'm not sure whether I could write ever more. I appreciate all of you volunteering your time. You're really beautiful folks. Clutch the people you love like you might lose tomorrow. Avoid doing what I did and believe you could live in your own little heavenly bubble always. In the blink of an eye, some lazy morons can destroy all you love, leaving nothing ahead of you. Bye. My foster family of 11 years is kicking me out by the end of the week. I have nowhere to go and I feel broken. I, 18 male, was told earlier today that I need to pack up and leave by the end of the week. I still feel in shock. I was removed from my biological family when I was 7 due to issues with my parents. I was then placed in foster care and then matched with a couple who I will call the Peters. It's not their real name. No matter how much I actually want to blast their real info, I won't. The Peters were always really nice to me, and since I moved in when I was pretty young, after a while I started to consider them my parents. I called them Mom and Dad, treated them as my parents, treated their biological son as my brother. I wasn't their only foster child. They also have a 9-year-old boy who has lived with us for a little over a year. I was never adopted by them. I know why, because they live off the fostering allowance. Something that never really bothered me. They told me that it didn't matter, and that legality didn't make us a family. Which I believed. I went on their agency website earlier today and I found out that they are getting paid at least $2,400 for me per month. Or at least they were. Since I turned 18 they stopped getting the allowance. However, they applied for a staying put arrangement for me, which meant they would continue getting paid something as they continue to support me and let me live with them. It wasn't as much, I think it was like $1,000 per month. They told me they had it approved until I was 21, so I thought I'd be able to stay at least until I finished uni. They sat me down today and told me I had to leave. They told me that fostering is a business and that they couldn't afford to keep me on just the stay-put arrangement allowance. They told me I had until the end of the week. 4 days. How generous of them. They said they need my room because they want to get a new foster placement. They literally told me it's not personal. Like that makes me feel any fucking better. They said they would still consider me like a son, not their son anymore. Like a son, and that they want to keep in touch. What a joke. They choose to kick me out. An 18-year-old with no job, no income, no nothing. About to start university. Yet their bio son who is 25 gets to stay? So yeah. I guess fuck me, right? I'm just the one no one ever wanted. I guess I wasn't ever truly part of their family. Relevant comments. Accomplished Emu 591. I am sorry for your situation. However, you should contact the agency that was paying them. Tell them what they did, and ask for referrals to other organizations that can provide you assistance with finding employment and attending uni. It is even possible that your report of their behavior would make them ineligible for further paid foster placement. Not likely, but possible. No address 1159 responding to Accomplish EMU 591. Calling your former social worker is 100% a great idea, OP. Or going to Citizens Advice. There is plenty of support available to former foster children and they will help you find what you're eligible for. The part about reporting them, sadly there wouldn't be anything legally wrong or against any fostering practices for what they're doing. As long as they don't continue to claim on the staying put order, that is. In England, fostering is generally treated more as a business than as something you do for love, as it is in the US. Which has its upsides and its downsides. Morally though, the Peters are despicable people in my opinion. Jen in Miami. I'm so sorry. If it makes you feel any better, many parents kick their biological kids out once they turn 18 too. OP. Answer. It doesn't really if I'm honest. Mouse and Ladybug. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. These are garbage people. I'd be reporting them for fraud. They can't accept money to have you stay there if you aren't. OP. Answer. They'll probably cancel the staying put arrangement altogether, so I don't think they'll continue to be paid for me after I leave. Though that is something I am 100% checking in a few weeks. Po boy from Po family. They're doing it for the money. That is why. It's unfortunate and they sound horrid. I'm sorry, OP. I hope it all works out for you. Leaving will suck. But at least you won't be surrounded by greedy leeches. OP. Answer. I thought they were my family. I'm genuinely considering going no contact with them after I'm set up whatever I'll end up doing next week. Cucky94. You absolutely should. You were 7 when you went into their care. They denied you the opportunity to find a real family who love you for you and not the dollars you brought in. Fuck them. You deserve better. OP. Answer. I doubt anyone would have adopted me. I wasn't a great kid. In truth, had more issues than a hospital piss pot. I wasn't a great kid in any sense. But I changed. Genuinely I changed. I can't help but wonder if this is because of how I was as a young child. Nene 1 through 0388. I'm so sorry this has happened to you, honey. You must be feeling awful. Do you have a care leaver's personal advisor? Not sure which area you are in. They should be supporting you to find move-on accommodation in a supported setting if needed. Or support you to approach your local housing office for support. Without cause, your foster family cannot give you 4 days notice to leave. They would need to give formal notice, which is usually about 4 weeks. It would be worth calling your Children's Services Duty, VOR, out-of-hours telephone number and explaining the situation, because it will be whoever is responsible, i.e. the personal advisor's team who will be paying the staying put fees to the foster carers. So there is someone who is responsible and will need to provide immediate support to help you. OP. Answer. Yeah, I'm meeting with him today. I'm going to tell him they've given me a verbal 4-day notice and that I need urgent help. If I'm honest, I don't want to stay here anymore. The whole dynamic has changed and none of them even look me in the eyes now. But I'm not going to make myself homeless, so I'll stay until I have accommodation and I'm not leaving the house until I do. Brightad 3 is 06. It is awful, but if they counted on that money to make rent, they might not have much of a choice. I wouldn't conduct myself that way. But not every foster couple is rich. OP. Answer. They own their own home. And just some quick math for anyone interested. I don't know what package I was placed on because there's a difference allowance for each package. But according to the fostering agency website, the minimum was $2,400 for me. It goes to a maximum of $3,400 per month. But I'll estimate off the lowest. Mine obviously stopped, but it would be the same for the 9M foster placement they have now. So, $2,400 x 12 for ours, $2,800 per year. Plus my $12,000 per year from the staying put order. Gave them a nice $40,800 per year. Which they would pay little, if any, tax on, as a fostering allowance is taxed very lightly here. That may not sound like a lot to Americans with your high wages, but the average post-tax wage where I live is $23,985 per year. They had enough, I think. Mini update. Okay, thank you guys for all your advice. Honestly, I was in a state of shock yesterday. Maybe still am today. I wasn't thinking straight. I only slept 2 hours last night, that's all, so I'm probably a little delirious today as well. Firstly, I have contacted my personal advisor. He'll be having an emergency meeting with me at 1:30, so I'll have more details about what's going to happen to me then. He'll hopefully be able to sort out emergency accommodation for me. Secondly, to those of you saying the Peters can't legally just give me 4 days notice to leave, I will definitely be mentioning this to my personal assistant and get his advice on it. I don't want to stay here any longer than I need to because they told me it's like I don't exist. They just look right through me. But I'm not going to move out until I have safe accommodation for me. I will outright refuse. I am not going to be made homeless. Thirdly, those of you saying contact my uni, I have an offer from them, but it's only conditional if I get my predicted A levels. Hopefully I will, but since I'm not technically a student yet, I don't know if they will actually provide any support yet. Finally, I am also going to ensure that the staying put allowance stops. I will tell my personal assistant today that it should surely be stopped if I'm not living with them. Luckily, I have some money saved. Some people here have said I should be entitled to a bursary when I start uni, and I'll have my maintenance student loan to help me. I've already started looking for a job. Relevant comments Snaggle00T4. Good luck. I'd cut all ties with them. They are not good people. Celebration Main, 8329. Good luck OP. I am here rooting for update 2. Okay, hi everyone. I just got home and am feeling incredibly tired, so this is just going to be a short update. Basically, I had a big long meeting with my personal assistant and he was very sympathetic and felt upset that the Peters are treating me this way. We had one meeting and then I went to get food while he spoke to the Peters directly, and then I came back to meet him again to let me know everything that has happened. He's putting me on the list for social housing. I am hopeful that it will not be long until I am able to get my own house. I recorded the meeting because I'm so sleep deprived, and also, I have really bad memory processing for long things like that because of my dyslexia, autism or something, I'm not sure. I can listen to it again tomorrow after I've slept, but from what I gather they will help me with paying for rent costs. I will also get some money to help pay for furniture and things like that. When he spoke to the Peters, I don't know if he said they had to keep me housed for a while or asked them to. I'm not sure. But they've agreed to keep housing me until the end of August, so at least I don't have to worry about everything happening in 3 days. He did tell me that if I feel uncomfortable, I can be moved into a youth hostel place while they wait for a property to be available for me. But I said, if I can, I would rather stay with the Peters until I am ready to move. Even if it makes me feel a little uncomfortable. He told me they will continue getting paid the staying put allowance until the day I officially move out, and then it will be stopped. On a completely separate note, my best friend and I had a huge argument earlier. He said that I'm being ungrateful, and honestly what he said really hurt me. We had a huge argument. I just thought out of everyone he would get me and understand what I was going through. Maybe not. Maybe I'm being unreasonable. I am really tired, so maybe my emotions are just not being controlled well at the moment. I am going to talk to him tomorrow after I've slept, and I'm hoping this argument will just blow over because I need him at the moment. I don't feel like I have anyone else. Oh, and I haven't read all the comments because I didn't expect to get so many. Thank you everyone who has offered support. It is genuinely so sweet and I am so thankful. Relevant comments Gen A20. Glad things are working out. Don't worry about your friend. Right now you are in survival mode. Trying to make sure you aren't on the streets. Hope everything keeps working out for you. OP answer. He said I should be grateful that they kept me that long anyway. Like the fuck? I'm not a pet. He also said some other things like how it's good that they're going to help another child like I was. Which is true, and I get that it's a good thing what they're doing to help people. But him saying those things make me feel like I'm being crazy for wanting to stay like I was promised by them. Ugh, I'm too tired and maybe I'm being irrational. I'm going to talk again with him tomorrow and say I'm sorry. Long and unimportant rant. It never bothered me that they were paid to keep me before. Genuinely never bothered me at all. I always knew I was a foster child. I was about 15 when I learnt that they were paid money to look after me, and I told myself it was a good thing. And it probably was. I have had loving parents for 11 years, which is more than some people can say. I just didn't ever think they'd make me move out when the payment stopped being as high. I found out that when I was still a child they were paid $111.82 per day for me. That's $40,114 per year. I had never felt different to the family. I had always felt loved and secure. I don't understand why they have changed their minds about me. None of them will even look at me in the eyes anymore. And it's gotten to the point where I can't leave my room anymore because all I feel is the absence of the love that used to be there. I didn't come down for any meal times, which was a rule that you had to before. If I didn't go down before, I wouldn't have gotten any food. But Mum brought it up to my room and knocked on the door to say she was going to leave it there for me. I've used that 100 times over and over again in my head, to try and convince myself that they still love me. I called her by her first name when I came home yesterday. Not Mum, Claire. She looked upset when I did that, and a part of me is happy about that, and a part of me feels cruel for it. I knew it would hurt her and I did it anyway. In some ways I wish she wakes up to the pain she's causing me. I hope she takes it back and says that it is a lapse in judgment, and that she loves me and wants me to stay. But if that were going to come, I think it would have already. I guess I'm not worth the $76 per day they lose by not replacing me with another foster child. When I feel bad about hurting them, I remind myself they're kicking me out to get an extra $76 a day. That's what I'm worth to them. $76 per day. Relevant comments. OP respond. I don't expect anyone to read this or care, but I want to say thank you for the immense love you've all shown me. I feel nothing but gratitude to you all. My in bad book. I'd like to think, at least a part of the reason for their lack of eye contact and emotional withdrawal is due to their feelings of absolute embarrassment, guilt and shame. That she seemed upset with being called her name, I feel, somewhat supports this. And they should feel this way. However, I really do hope they can put these feelings, and their egos, to the side and take steps to actively make amends and rebuild the relationship. I really am sorry this is happening, and I'm so very happy you had a secure and safe childhood. Edit. To add, I follow you and read your posts because I really want you to be okay. You didn't deserve this. No child does, no matter their struggles. I've been thinking about you and putting all the good thoughts out there for you. Imgen France. Your feelings are valid and important. You are not alone. Adopted is a great group here on Reddit just for adoptees. People who understand because they've been there. You can also find groups on Facebook, and there may even be local groups in your area if you'd like to connect with people in person. You're doing amazing. Okay, I am going to try and condense this as much as possible. Basically, 18 male, got removed from my bio family when I was 7. I got taken into foster care and was matched with a family called the Peters. I was then raised by the Peters for the remainder of my life, from 7 all the way until now. They had originally told me that I was able to live with them indefinitely, as I considered the Peters my family. And they applied for a stay order with me, which basically means they continued to get paid something like $250 by the government to recognize that they're continuing to support a former foster child, me, after my 18th birthday. As I said before, I was always told by Peters I could stay as long as I needed to set myself up in life. Their bio son, who I considered my brother, is 25 and still lives with them. He doesn't work but graduated university 2 years ago. I have a conditional offer at a local university which I'm studying classics with aims to become a teacher. I start in October, if I get my predicted A-levels, which I think I will. But the Peters told me that I had to leave by the end of the week because they wanted to get another foster child. This is something they really sprung on me. And it's been extremely difficult for me. I had to get in contact with my social worker who spoke with the Peters, and now they're letting me stay until the end of August, but the whole family has changed. I explained all this to my best friend, and I said I was considering going no contact with them after I moved out. He ranted to me about how ungrateful I'm being to them. And how they raised me for 11 years and now they want to give that to another child in a position like I was. I get that, and that's part of the reason why I feel so guilty. My friend isn't speaking to me now, calling me selfish for wanting to stay with the Peters like I was promised. And for them trying to get rid of me with 4 days' notice. There were plans they could have taken to transition me into independent living before I turned 18, and they chose not to take part in them, because they told me I could always stay with them. The one time of my life I needed my friend, and he's gone too, and I feel so alone, and I can't understand why he's taking their side over mine. I understand the argument that they will continue to help another child, but at the same time I just wish they didn't have to throw me out to do so. When I suggested to my friend they could have asked their bio son to move out instead of me, and he just said, "I'm being selfish." I still don't even know if I am going to go no contact with them. I just said I felt like doing it, and I wish I didn't even say that because I didn't expect it to cause such an argument. So, am I the A? Relevant comments. Top reveal 847. You poor kid, your friend is an AH, and you're certainly not. Even if there is another kid waiting and desperately in need, they could have and should have at least let you plan ahead more than a few days in advance, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Are you foster parents at least helping you find a place? Edit to add that you should let someone at the university know. IDK how it's done where you are, but some universities have programs for stuff like this. Wardog 1983. You not the A. The Peters are using the fostering system to support themselves. They do not care about helping the kids. They say that to justify their callous treatment of you. They should not be foster parents. I'm sorry about your friend, his point of view is a betrayal because it is simply wrong. Scott's way. Hey. Dude, my cousin used to foster kids. She fostered 3 sisters and 1 other girl. I use the words because she adopted them as she wasn't in it for the money. OP answer. I don't really even care that they were looking after me and getting money for it. It doesn't bother me. I never knew how much they were getting to look after me, but I did know they were being paid. It does make me hurt and betrayed that they're kicking me out for a difference of 70-something pounds a day. Material, Cellist 4133. Not the A. Also, you are far from ungrateful. You were 100% grateful until they made it about money. You thought they took care of you because they were good people. Instead, they took care of you for money. It's an even exchange, nothing to be grateful about. Peters found my Reddit posts. The Peters' son, Jamie, has found my original Reddit post. I guess I should have been more careful with the details, but my mind was so frantic at the point of writing it I just couldn't think straight. I'm not sure how he found it, but considering it has almost 10k upvotes, and Jamie was the person who introduced me to Reddit, I guess it might have just popped up on his page. Does anyone know if it might have popped up to him because we're on the same network, in the same location? A few hours ago, Jaime came to my room. He showed me the original post and asked if I had written it. At first I tried to deny it, but I'm an awful liar, so he just knew. He asked why I didn't tell him about this, and I said I thought he knew. He told me he had no idea and would not have supported his parents throwing me out if he did. He was told I requested to move out. He genuinely seemed shocked and appalled at the details in the post. Against my wishes, he shared the post in the family group chat. He did this out of a place of wanting to defend me. Mom, Dad, I really think you should read this and see the impact this is having on. But I really wish he didn't do it. They've both read the message, but neither have responded. I have not left my room since. I'm really anxious right now. Like I'm at the level before a panic attack. I can feel one coming on. Relevant comments. Polly6119. Stay calm and know that you did nothing wrong. They may try to gaslight you. They may lie to your brother. They don't have a good track record for being decent people. But no matter what they do, remember you did nothing wrong. They cannot throw you out because of it. They have learned their lesson on that. I'm glad to know your brother didn't agree with their horrible decision, and I'm glad that he found out. Him not looking you in the eye these past couple of days may have had something to do with the tension already in the air and him thinking you just up and wanted to leave. I hope it turns out that they realize their mistakes and apologize profusely. But brace yourself for that not happening and that they may get upset with you for airing dirty laundry. They may end up trying to guilt you and blame everything on you. They may do nothing. Please remember, no matter what they say and no matter what your ex-best friend said, you did nothing wrong. Your feelings are valid. You deserve love. You did not deserve what they did to you. Afternoon agitated 803. Calm and breath. Sounds like he's being a big brother and sticking up for you, because for him you're his sister and he loves you. So talk to him more, lean on him more. He's an adult, he can handle it. The moving out. The Peters could have really dealt with this in such a better way. They could have talked to you about now that you're an adult and soon going to university. We'll go and talk to your caseworker about finding you your own place to live, and we'll be able to help another little kid just like you when you came here, but you've got to come round for Sunday dinner. Or something like that. They handled this so badly, saying yes you can stay till 21, then telling you exactly the money they receive, and then telling you to get out by the end of the week. Where did they expect you to go, FFs? Do the foster parents not work at all? Or are the children their only job? And although he's being a good brother to you right now, if he finished uni 2 years ago, why isn't he working or getting training or something? 2 years of not putting his degree to use will show those in whatever field he did the degree in that he has no work ethic at all. I've just tonight been reading through all your posts and I completely understand why you're thinking of going LC with foster parents. They've handled it really badly, and next time you see your caseworker ask them, Do foster parents not get training or anything on how to handle this situation of when a child is reaching 18? Tell the caseworker you want notes or something put on their file of how badly they have handled this, so that any future foster kids they look after their file shows. This is what they do when the money drops down, so that a future caseworker can put the child's needs first and they don't go through what you went through. With your friend, he's being a bit of an asshole. I'm guessing by the language used he has the privilege of living with his birth parents his whole life and is in no danger of being told he has to get out in 5 days? He is not acknowledging he's in a position of privilege in this situation. I'd message him and say, "These last few days have been crazy, and although you wouldn't know what it feels like to be in this position, I was just looking for a friend to listen to. It's been a stressful and upsetting few days and I don't want to fall out with you. And just suggest something you usually do together if you play a computer game or just hang out. End it with, do you want to play comp hang out tomorrow? And leave it at that and see what they say." Fairy Rebels Wild, to the Peters. From OP's posts, it sounds like you had a genuine relationship with him, or at least he felt you did. It's good that you were able to provide a stable family life for him. Considering that you had originally told OP he could stay and you had applied for him staying put, I'm going to assume that somehow your circumstances changed. That sucks. But you handled this in the worst way possible. You should have approached OP in a collaborative manner, explaining the situation. Phrased it as not being able to support him anymore, rather than fostering being a business. Explored if him getting a job and financially contributing would have helped. Actually help him connect with his personal assistant for those transitional services and with their advice, making a realistic move-out date. Everything you did was wrong. Saying fostering as a business taints every family interaction or affection as fake and transactional. I dare say pretending to be his family is worse than if you had kept it businesslike from the beginning. Verbal 4 days notice is actually heartless. How cruel and frankly, unrealistic, especially as you knew, being the ones to have originally allowed him to stay, that he wasn't applied to the transitional services yet. You can't expect him to continue treating you as family while you treat him as a former business colleague. Again, heartless and unrealistic. I hope you learn to be more empathetic to your future foster kids, or at least, be honest to them about your intentions from the beginning. What I'm going to send in the family group chat. Is this a bad idea? To Matt and Claire. I came to you as a 7-year-old. A 7-year-old who had never felt love or affection, or anything remotely nice. I was taught at a young age to fear those in authority. To fear the sudden changes in the moods of my birth parents. I was taught to bottle up my emotions and my pain and never show it. When I first came to you, my life was ruled by fear and anxiety. I know my behaviors back then were awful, and were a struggle to manage. I had been taught there were no consequences for some actions. And firm, scary and hard consequences for others. The worst part was that those actions never seemed to be consistent. I could do something one day and be praised by my birth family, and another day I would be beaten. Love was not something given, it was something earned. It was conditional and shallow. You both showed me another way. You showed me love and affection, and at first it felt confusing and hard to comprehend. I couldn't see myself as anything more than a nuisance. I couldn't see why someone would love me. I couldn't understand why you weren't beating me. Do you remember me telling you, you can hit me if I am naughty, I won't mind. Slowly you taught me to trust and love myself, and those around me. You showed me that no matter what I did, you wouldn't give up on me. You wouldn't send me away or hate me. And I really tried to make you. I know that. I was scared. You made me realize that it wasn't my own fault I was in care, and that I wasn't to blame for the things that happened to my birth family. You showed me appropriate outlets to my fears. You showed me love, compassion, and kindness. The first day I remember feeling truly safe was when I was sitting in your arms at 8 years old watching Shrek. I still think back to that moment. It probably just felt like another day to you. But to me, it is a core memory in my life. It's a moment that shapes the way I see myself. You sat up with me when I was worried about moving up to secondary school. You comforted me when my birth mom told me she no longer wanted to be part of my life. You were there when XX broke up with me when I was 15 years old and I felt like my whole world was ending again. You encouraged me to go beyond my studies and apply to university. The most important thing you showed me was that I was worthy of being loved and respected. You never gave up on me. I am who I am today because of what you did. I look at myself and I see compassion, care and kindness. And in those traits I see you. You weren't my birth family, but you were my family. My only family. I don't know what changed. Why has there been a switch? Why have you gone from the loving and caring parents you were? When I leave my room now, I no longer feel that love and kindness that brought me out of the pits of despair as a child. It's almost as if you have completely altered the way you see me, and I just can't understand why. A few days ago you told me I had to move out. You gave me 4 days notice to leave my family. You sent me back into feeling like that child at 7 years old. I'm not saying this to guilt you or to ask you to let me stay. That is past now, and unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever be able to see you the same way again. I understand if you were hard on money or if you wanted to help another child like me. But why not talk to me? Why spring it on me and then act like I don't matter? Why tell me it's just business? Did you think that would make it hurt less? Since you told me my whole life has been turned upside down and I don't know how I will make it to the other side. If I had felt like this a few weeks ago, do you know who I would have gone to? I would have gone to you. I would have told you my worries and my fears, and you would have said the exact right thing, and then we'd sit together and watch some awful TV show. And now, I have no one again. I feel like I'm being told for the second time in my life that I don't deserve a family. And this time I have no one to pick me up off the edge. That was always you, Mom and Dad. It was always you I could rely on. Why are you giving up on me now? Relevant comments. OP respond. I really feel like today the whole thing has just hit me in the face again. I think the emotions I was feeling were being blocked, and today they've been let out and I've done nothing but cry all day. Jay loves writing. Send it to them. Let them know how you feel, how they hurt you, and that they cannot expect you to ever contact them again after you leave. They need to know how you feel. Send it to them, and if you want to, leave the GC. Because they may try to justify their actions, and you don't need to hear it. OP answer. The sad thing is I don't think I even want that. I want them to love me again. I've contacted my personal assistant, and I'm moving out today. My personal assistant is allowing me to store my things I can't take with me in his garage. It's kind of him. He's found me a place at a local hostel. I'll get my own room apparently, which was a big deciding factor on if I wanted to move in or not. The hostel works with the LA and houses a lot of care leavers, the English term for someone who has aged out of foster care, while they wait for their own houses. I haven't sent the message yet, but I know my foster brother Jamie has seen it. Yesterday I felt overwhelming emotions, today I feel none. I don't know which is better. I'll send it once I'm moved out. I have a room, so I'll be gone in a few hours. I still haven't spoken to them, but I just can't face it anymore. I am sick of being anxious and stressed about this. I guess they did get their 4-day notice after all. Edit 1. I have just left Peter's house for the last time. The room is ready for me at the hostel. I feel so weird and sad and lonely right now. I've ordered myself a pizza to have for dinner today. And my PA even paid for it. I just want to get in bed and cry. My head is spinning thinking about everything I need to do. Wish me luck, everyone. Edit 2. I want to clarify something. I was hurt and in shock when I wrote my first post, but I want to make it understood that I was never eligible to be adopted. At first the end goal for me was to reintegrate myself into my birth family. By the time we knew that was never going to happen, I wouldn't have accepted adoption as I wanted to keep my legal ties with my birth family. The Peters always told me it didn't matter that I didn't want to be adopted, and they loved me the same anyway. Maybe it wouldn't have changed anything, or maybe it would have. They were paid fortnightly for caring for me, and they would get $1,865.48. That's $4,702.48 per year they got just to raise me, which is about $52,295.77. I keep thinking about that number. Was that all I was? I wonder what I would change if I could go back in time. Edit 3. I am settled in the hostel now. It's not exactly luxury, to say the least. But at least I'm here now. I sent the text message, very slightly altered from the one I wrote yesterday. And then I left the group chat. I also posted it on Facebook. That was probably the wrong thing to do. I don't know. Final update. This is going to be my final update on all of this. I want to put everything behind me. Claire rang me crying, saying she had no idea I felt like this. How? How could she not know? She said she was sorry and begged me to come back. God. How do I ruin everything? She was telling me all these things about how she regrets the past few days so much and wishes she could take it all back. I said this is not fair. She cannot throw me out and then call me crying. I said it's manipulative. She just kept saying sorry. She said she loves me and wants me to come home. Jesus. This is just a lie, right? She must have known. Am I the bad person here? I feel so confused I don't know what to do. I just hung up and then she started texting me and I blocked her. But now I feel like I'm the bad person here. I'm so tired of this. Of all of this. I want nothing to do with any of them. I don't think Reddit is good for me. I'm not sure any of this is good for me. I'm going to delete the app. Sorry everyone. Relevant comments. Calamity Curls. I've been following along with your updates as you post them, OP, and I want to tell you that I'm so sorry you're going through this, that you deserve better, and that you are so strong in a situation where you shouldn't have to be. I'm glad your personal assistant is helping you, and I wish you nothing but success and happiness. OP answer. Thank you. I considered contacting my bio mom. Last time I spoke to her was when I was a young teen. But I think it might just be seeking out something to make myself feel more hurt, and I don't think I could deal with any more rejection. To bigger and better things. 8 marshmallows. I can't believe the Peters were too cowardly to even say anything to you. Will this whole situation make them ineligible for future placements? I would think there is a reporting structure and your personal assistant would be obligated to flag their file for this. OP answer. Doubt it. My personal assistant didn't even seem shocked by the situation as a whole, and I think my parents have framed it as us falling out to their social worker. Despite me making it clear that's not the case from my POV. I had a baby as a result of an affair and now his wife is reaching out to me. I'm so stupid. I, female 26, had an affair with a married man, male 42 a few years ago. I had no clue he was married when we first met and hooked up. I obviously looked him up on social media, and while he did have photos of his kids on there was absolutely no mention or photos of a wife at all. I found out that he was married about a month after we first got together, but he told me it was just a marriage on paper and that they basically lived separate lives and agreed to remain married for practical purposes until the kids were older. They owned a business, which she really ran and he was just financially involved in. I knew at the time that I probably shouldn't believe him, but I convinced myself it was true. I was in my early 20s and so attracted to him and I guess almost infatuated with him. He made me feel so good. I know now that I should have ended it immediately, but I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I was addicted to all of the attention he gave me, the great sex, the places he'd take me. I felt special. I was so naive. I got pregnant about a year into seeing him. I had always been so careful with preventing pregnancy, but during my relationship with him I took stupid risks. I was so high in lust with this guy, it's embarrassing. The things he'd asked me to do, I'd say yes to almost anything, even when I knew it was a bad idea. I was in love with him, or I thought I was. I hadn't intentionally wanted to get pregnant. I would of course dream about being his wife and having a family, but I knew that wouldn't be a possibility while he had this arrangement with his actual wife. I didn't get pregnant on purpose with any intention of him leaving her for me, even if I wished that we could be a real, normal couple. I was surprised by how excited I was to be pregnant with his baby. I wanted that baby once I found out I was pregnant. The thought of carrying this baby of the man I loved was so special to me, but I knew he probably wouldn't feel the same. I told him I was pregnant and he told me I couldn't keep the baby. I expected his reaction, but I was devastated and it hurt me to my core that he didn't feel the same way I did. He offered to pay, to make a whole weekend of it somewhere exciting, what the F, and to buy me something special if I'd just please get rid of the baby. He explained that he didn't want any more kids and that he couldn't openly be a father to another kid when he and his wife were still pretending to be happily married to the outside world. I agreed to do what he wanted and we made plans for him to pick me up and find somewhere out of town to go get it done. I was all packed the night he was going to pick me up, but I started to feel really scared and really unsafe about the whole thing. I took my bag and checked myself into a hotel to hide because I couldn't go with him. I texted him to say I promised to never contact him again and to never name him as the father or go after child support if he'd promised to leave me alone. At first he tried to sweet talk me into doing what he wanted. When I didn't cave in, he said some very nasty things to me and that I essentially better never contact him again or show up at his door. I have a 2-year-old now. At times, it's been difficult, but overall we are thriving as best we can. I have kept my word about not naming him as the father or requesting child support. His wife contacted me on social media. Well, she's his ex-wife now. She wants to talk to me. She found out about me and told me that she divorced him 6 months ago. She wants her children to know their siblings and for my child to know his siblings. That's weird to me. I haven't responded back to her yet. I am unsure about how to approach this. How do I respond to this? I wonder if I'm being selfish by not exploring an option for my child to know his siblings, if she's being genuine about that. If I was married and my husband fathered a child outside of our marriage, I don't think I'd feel the same that she does. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I didn't know he was married when we first got together. I acknowledge that I should have ended the relationship as soon as I found out he was married. I allowed myself to believe what he told me, which made it seem not so bad. Like this was some sort of agreement he and his wife had. Emotionally, I was already hooked. I'm not making excuses. I wouldn't say I was happy to bring a baby into this situation. There was a huge mix of emotions. I felt like I was in love with him, so there was a part of me that was excited at first. That feeling soon died, but I still felt that I loved my baby still. I tried to do the best thing that I could, which was to remove myself from his life and his family's life. I just wanted to be able to keep my baby and love my baby. I did not get pregnant on purpose. I wasn't on birth control. I had been on birth control when I was slightly younger and had life-threatening health complications as a result. He knew I wasn't on birth control. He loved unprotected sex. I was stupid and I agreed to do it. I would do almost anything he asked sexually. I tried to track my cycle and would tell him when it was probably not a safe time to do it. His wife isn't really what I'm afraid of. Whatever she'd want to say to me is probably deserved anyway, and more. Comment 2. He found out about the pregnancy before I ghosted him. And upon finding out I was pregnant with his child, there was absolutely no real discussion about what we were going to do. We were going to do what he wanted to do and he had it all planned out. He threatened me, by text and by phone calls and voicemails, when I told him I was not going to go with him on this abortion vacation he had planned. I begged him to please not force me to do that and he turned mean. I offered to never contact him again if he'd just let me go. After threatening me again, about what he'd do if I didn't keep my word, he agreed. He has kept his side of the bargain and has never contacted me. Comment 3. I've been assuming that she found out about me on her own, maybe saw something on his phone or computer and has probably known for a while before reaching out to me, if it's actually her. I get what some people are saying about siblings and such, but that man is not my child's dad. He is the dad of his older kids, but he's not the dad of my kid. I'm still young and I hope to have more children one day, and those children would be my son's siblings. I hope to find a man who loves me and my son and with whom I can have a legitimate relationship. I haven't been with another man since I ended things with this guy. I actually just went on 2 dates for the first time very recently. I'm not desperate to find a man right now, but I hope to find real love one day. Those people are not my son's family. He's 2 and they're old enough to drive. So I don't think they're missing out on any sort of important relationship right now. I understand wanting to know your bio family, and I feel he can decide that later on when he's old enough to have a day. Depending on where we are in our lives at the time, he might not feel a need to know those people. I don't plan to lie to my son about his conception, but I don't think we need to involve ourselves with the man's ex-wife and teenage children at this time. Update 1. I made a post 3 weeks ago and things have only gotten stranger. I had an affair with a married man a few years ago. I regret it and I will never do anything like that ever again. I knew it was wrong from the very beginning, but he captivated me. I was naive. I allowed myself to believe when he told me they were pretty much just married on paper for the sake of their kids. I got pregnant and while he tried to talk me into getting an abortion, I ultimately decided to keep the baby. I have a 2-year-old little boy now. I promised this man that I wouldn't expose our affair and I wouldn't formally identify him as the father or request child support. I did that because he was becoming very nasty about the whole thing and I felt like due to the mess that I had created and the way I felt by the end of it, a clean break with no involvement with him would be the best thing for everyone. I moved back to where my family is, hundreds of miles from where he and his family live. About a month ago his ex-wife reached out to me via social media, claiming they had been divorced for 6 months and that she wanted our children to be able to know each other. Now their kids are teenagers, so I didn't really think they'd want anything to do with the toddler and the woman their father was having an affair with. It seemed odd to me. After posting here, I sort of decided that I wouldn't respond to her. I'd just ignore it. She just sent me one message, so it wasn't as if she was badgering me about talking to me or meeting me. On Friday night, I decided to message her. I don't really know why. I think it was really just for my sake so I could have the chance to apologize to her. I told her that I would be more comfortable speaking with her face to face since I couldn't trust that it was really her. She said she understood. I was too nervous to meet her in person, but we did a video chat. I didn't know what to expect, if this was all a ploy just to unleash her fury on me or what. I mean, I deserve that. She wouldn't be wrong to feel that way. It was really her. She told me she discovered our affair when she found communications between the two of us, after our relationship had ended. She told me I'm one of many women he had affairs with over the years and she knew about somebody even before he met me, but she didn't divorce him at the time. Finding out about my child was the final straw for her. I told her I was sorry for my relationship with her husband and admitted that I knew he was married. She graciously told me she forgives me and that while she harbored a lot of anger towards me initially, she ultimately blames her husband. I'm not blameless, but she chooses to not hate me, essentially. She said she couldn't have said this 6 months ago or a year ago when she first found out about me, but she has moved past that. She still has anger toward him, in addition to many other emotions surrounding him. She started pouring out her heart to me about their 20-plus year marriage and life together, and it was very awkward because what do I even say? Her kids know about me and my son. She says they're very mad at their father. Somehow I don't think they're mad about the fact that he's not involved with my son's life. And why would they be mad about that? I would hate myself if I were them. I told her that with my son being so little right now, I don't really feel comfortable with him meeting her kids or being involved with their family. I feel unsure about it, and it's just not something I feel needs to happen right now. Then she told me her ex-husband was in a bad accident 2 months ago. He's fine now, still not allowed to return to all his normal activities just yet, but will be fine. He is probably the most physically active person I've ever met, barely ever seems to sit down. So he must be terribly annoying to be around if he's not allowed to go all the time. She told me he wants to meet my son. Apparently she moved back in with him temporarily when he first came home from the hospital. She said the accident really shook him up, and he has been expressing a lot of regret about my son, not being involved, not providing for him. So now it's like, was everything she said just a lie and he somehow got her to reach out to me on his behalf? And she actually did it? It felt almost like a relief talking to her initially. But then it's like, was any of that true, or you were just trying to be his messenger? I don't even know if that part is true now. Why wouldn't he just contact me himself? I'm just feeling so uneasy about the whole thing now. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I don't believe I have to involve his teenage children in my son's life. Maybe when my son is old enough to decide if he wants that. He is not named on the birth certificate, and I do not receive child support from him. I have asked nothing of him, except to let me move away and not try to force me to have an abortion. I basically had to promise him to not contact him, not make him as the father, not request child support. If he truly wants involvement with my son, he can reach out to me directly, and he can take the legal route to establish himself as our son's father. Comment 2. He did not legally sever his rights. He never established rights in the first place. He has no rights until he goes to court and establishes himself as the father. He is welcome to do that. Honestly, I wish my son did have a father who was involved in his life and loved him. Yes, this guy has faults, but he has plenty of positive qualities. He is really involved with his older children. I met them many times because they'd be at work with him, or he'd have to drop by the office on his way to take them somewhere. He was always doing things with them. They seemed like good kids who really loved their dad. I wish my son could have that experience too. I didn't think it was an option based on how he behaved when I was pregnant. He wasn't interested and wanted me and our baby to go away. That's what I did, and I accepted it. Comment 3. He is not legally my son's father at this time. This means that currently he has no legal parental rights or responsibilities regarding my son. I cannot stop him from taking the legal steps to establish paternity if he wishes to do so. He will always be my son's biological father. I can't change that fact. Regardless of whether or not he ever legally establishes paternity, my son will likely be curious about his biological father, and who knows, maybe they will establish a relationship one day regardless of legal paternity. There is no way to say if I will meet a man who may want to adopt my son one day, thus becoming his legal father. It's something that I think would be nice, but nothing that I'm intent on doing. By choice, I've only been on 2 dates since my son was born, and that was only within the year 2024. I realize that it will not be as simple as signing a piece of paper. Update 2. I posted about this a few months ago. To summarize very quickly, when I was fresh out of college, I had an affair with a married man and father. I became pregnant. He wanted me to get an abortion. He had arranged to take me away on a vacation to get an abortion. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I agreed to go along with what we wanted. At the last minute, when he was on his way to come pick me up, I told him I couldn't go through with the abortion. I just really didn't feel comfortable about his plan and how he was orchestrating everything. It scared me. I realized at that time how deep I had gone with this mistake, how screwed up the whole relationship was. He was really mad. He threatened me, said a lot of nasty things to me. I told him if he just left me alone and let me have my baby, then I'd leave him alone and wouldn't name him as the father or seek child support. I moved back home. I was living in a different state when I met him. I kept my word and I didn't name him as the father or seek to establish paternity. I have never sought child support. My child is 2 now. A few months ago, his wife contacted me via social media. At first she made it seem like she wanted my child to have the opportunity to know his siblings. It was sort of weird since the siblings are teenagers. She said she had divorced him 6 months prior. I agreed to talk to her virtually, Not in person. I felt that I owed it to her to apologize for what I had done. I do feel bad about it. But at the end of the conversation I told her that I didn't feel it was the appropriate time to connect my son with her kids. He's a toddler and in their teens, plus I had promised her husband to stay out of his life. That's when she told me that he was recently in a bad accident and she had been helping to take care of him. Supposedly he was going to be fine and was fairly recovered at that point, but she said he had expressed interest to meet our child. So she was basically his messenger. I have not been in contact with her since then. I deleted my social media. I don't know why, but the whole thing just really made me uncomfortable. Since I last posted here. Then I received a handwritten letter from him. In it, he expressed how he wanted to get to know our son, he wants to be a father to our son, he wants to provide financially for him, he'd like us to come visit him. He asked me to sign a paternity affidavit. I refused to do so. I know he is my son's father, but I'm not going to make this that easy for him. After the things he said to me and threatened me with, he at least has to work for this. At that point, my parents felt that we needed to meet with a lawyer. All communication from me has gone through a lawyer. I have never responded to him personally, directly. Now I have a court order for paternity. I have to present my son to have a specimen taken tomorrow. I already know what it's going to say. It's not that I don't want my son to have a dad in his life. It's just, the whole situation is a mess. And he lives a few states away from me. I don't know what to do. I can't really do anything. He's doing things legally. Next, I'm sure he'll petition for some form of custody or visitation. He's not married anymore, supposedly, but he's a lot more established than I am. He has considerably more financial resources. I also know he has all sorts of connections where he lives. Luckily, they don't hold as much weight here in my state, but it's still so scary to me. I'm a bad mom. I brought my son into this world knowing it was a messy situation. I just got so comfortable with it just being the two of us, and now I don't want to give that up. Relevant comments OP on if the father would be moving closer to her and her son now that he's divorced from his ex-wife. OP answer, to touch on just a few things. I don't think he'll move away from where he lives. He has way too much established there. He's in his early 40s. I don't know how this supposed accident, if that even really happened, has affected him, but he was incredibly physically active when I knew him. He only slept like 4 hours a night, took a 20-minute power nap daily, and rarely ever sat down. He was also highly involved in his children's lives. I'd even say overprotective, like a helicopter dad instead of the typical helicopter mom. Careless_welder_4048, how did he have time to cheat? OP answer, he only slept a few hours a night and moved at about 1,000,000 miles a minute. Everyone joked about it. Somehow he always had time to get up at 5 a.m., go surfing, do some work, take his kids to school, do some work, take his power nap, get coffee, pick his kids up after school and take them wakeboarding or some other sort of thing like that, do some more work, be at his kids' basketball game and so on and so forth. He literally never ever stopped. I was just another thing to help fill out his calendar to prevent him from getting bored. OP on the father's relationship with his ex-wife and their children. OP answer. I also don't think he and his wife had much of a relationship, although it wasn't quite as he described it to me. They lived in the same house, but I believe they lived pretty separate lives. He bought her a business to give her something to do and keep her busy. She was there most of the time. They didn't even go to their kids' activities together. He was always the one going. So I think that freed up time too. I don't think they liked being around each other, so she was happy to have him out of the house. She admitted to me that I wasn't the first affair he had, and she knew about most of the time we were together. Another update on how stupid I am, or I had a baby as a result of an affair and now his wife is reaching out to me. I won't rehash the whole thing here. My previous posts are on my profile. I got pregnant from an affair with a married guy. He wanted me to have an abortion. I decided I didn't want one. He turned mean. I promised to not name him as the father, legally, or to pursue any sort of child support. I moved away from where he and his family were located. I'm about 12 hours away from him now, back where my family is from. I haven't reached out to him in over 3 years since. His ex-wife reached out to me out of the blue via social media, initially claiming she wanted to connect with me so that our kids could know each other. When I politely declined for the time being, as her kids are teenagers and my son is a toddler and we live states apart, she revealed she was really reaching out on behalf of her ex-husband, who had supposedly had a change of heart about being involved in our child's life after nearly dying in an accident. I did not engage with her any further after that. It all made me feel very uncomfortable. Later, I received a letter from him in the mail. He asked to be involved with our son, to provide for him, etc. It still felt weird. I mean, he turned really mean and didn't want anything to do with me or our baby and hadn't made any attempt to contact me in years, and I was not hiding. His wife was obviously able to find me on social media, and you can find my address online. I felt like if he was serious, he'd take the steps to establish paternity legally. And that's what he did. Around 1.5 months ago, we were ordered to submit DNA samples for a paternity test. It took around 5 weeks to find out what I already knew it'd say. But now things are stalled for another several weeks for the next step in the court process. I haven't talked to him at all during this whole thing. I didn't respond directly to his letter. I do have a lawyer and everything is basically going through him now. Then without any warning, he just showed up at my home last weekend. Just knocked on the door like it was nothing. Basically, this is his son and he doesn't want to wait another 6 weeks for the court to inevitably order us into some sort of custody mediation anyway. His words. Why can't I just talk to him? I told him he made me uncomfortable and him just showing up at my house really made me uncomfortable. Honestly, I don't know what made me so uncomfortable. The fact that he showed up unannounced like that, or the fact that I instantly felt the same attraction to him that I had when I was with him and I didn't want to feel that at all. In some weird way, part of me felt happy to see him and then another part of me was disgusted that I was happy. He said he doesn't understand why we can't just talk about this. He's not trying to take my son away from me. He just wants to be involved in his life and to help provide for him like he should have been all along. He's sorry he wasn't there when he was born. He's sorry he reacted the way that he did when I didn't go along with his plans to take me on an abortion vacation. Why can't I believe that he just wants to be a dad to his kid? I guess I agree with him. Why can't I just accept that he has had a change of heart? I can't trust myself. I can't trust my own judgment. I feel like if I easily let him into my son's life, I'm going to end up regretting it and be made a fool of somehow. I've already made so many mistakes when it comes to him. He says it's stupid of me to not try to work it out amongst ourselves first. I'm giving so much control to the court. I don't know whether to believe that or to think it's just his way of convincing me to do what he wants. I know he will get some sort of visitation and eventual custody. Maybe it would be better if we try to come to an agreement, but he had the ability to sway me so easily. I'm so stupid when it comes to him. Nobody else has ever made me feel so foolish in my life. I want my son to have a dad. I admit it's probably selfish of me to want to keep him away. I just keep imagining having to spend weeks or months apart from my child while he's living with his dad 12 hours away and I can't stand the thought of it. I'm just feeling sad, stupid, and defeated. Relevant comments. OP on if the father is actually divorced from his wife. OP answer, I checked the county records and they did actually get divorced. Mammoth_Might 8171. At this point you need to trust your lawyer. Hopefully he is a good one. Make sure that your lawyer has all the facts, including how poorly he treated you when he found out you were pregnant. Do not communicate any more with your ex, especially since you know that you're incapable of making good decisions when he is involved. You may need to prepare yourself mentally that your ex is eventually going to play a role in your kid's life, as much as that sucks. Hopefully you can go after him for back child support. OP answer. My lawyer has any and all information that I possibly had to share. I am already preparing myself that he will likely have a role in my child's life. I mean, the change will be difficult for me and I honestly don't want anything to change. But I'm trying to focus on any shred of positive outcome this could have for my son. He deserves a dad. I wish it wasn't in this situation. I wish I had given him 2 loving parents and a stable relationship, the ideal. I wish I had at least given him a father who didn't live states away. I feel bad that my son has 2 lying cheaters for parents. I truly do feel so embarrassed about our behavior in a new way I did before, ever since my son was born. Other than that whole thing and the fact that he's apparently had affairs with multiple women according to his ex-wife, he actually seems like a good dad to his teenage kids. He was always very involved with them. I guess I'm just trying to cling to whatever positive things I can think of. He can also provide a lot more financially than I currently can. That's scary for me because I'm already turning it into some sort of competition between us in my head. Several points for him, none for me. Plus my son is also very shy. He doesn't do well if me or one of my parents isn't there with him. I'm just now getting him involved in more activities with other kids and safe, trusted adults, but he still just clings to me. My heart breaks when I think of him meeting a strange man he doesn't know and me not being there. I want to be there. Plus I think that's how things normally go for him and to be perfectly honest that's how I used to be for him too. Just go along with what he wants. He was obviously expecting me when he showed up in person. He genuinely seemed surprised I didn't cave into his request right on the spot. The previous version of me probably would have. OP on how the father managed to find her address. OP answer. He sent me a letter in the mail previously. I googled myself and my address came up easily. Admittedly, I made no effort to hide myself after moving away. I didn't think I needed to. He had no interest in being involved with our baby and I promised to never contact him again. So I thought that was the end of it. His ex-wife told me he was in a bad accident when I talked to her. It's not too surprising based on his hobbies. He lives at like 200 miles per minute. According to her, she had to move back into their house to take care of him while he recovered. When he showed up here, he didn't look like somebody who had been in a life-threatening accident not too terribly long ago. He told me he's fully recovered and although he'll probably have back issues the rest of his life, he's perfectly fine. OP on having a visitation plan with the father for her son. OP answer. My lawyer says that other than creating a graduated visitation plan based on the fact that my son doesn't know this man, the fact that he hasn't been involved in his child's life for the last 3 years won't mean much to the court. Their ultimate goal is for a child to have 2 parents. I screwed myself over by not naming him as the father at birth or trying to establish paternity in any way. Had I done that and he fought it, neglected to pay court-ordered child support, etc., then we could have a better case as far as abandonment goes. He is putting in the effort to establish paternity now, is willing to pay child support, so he says, and is presumably going to tell the court he wants to see his kid and this is going to reflect positively for him, despite not being involved for 3 years. New update. Since everyone got mad at me for posting a recap of my situation in my previous posts, I won't even go there. If you're interested in the backstory, you can read my previous posts. All I will say is that I have a 3-year-old son who was conceived in an affair I had with a married man. After initially making me promise to not contact him, to not name him as the father, and to not request child support, my child's father has been pursuing involvement in our son's life over the last several months. He lives states away and most recently he showed up at my house to try to convince me to work things out directly with him. Since the last time I posted, we've recently had a mediation session and he's met our son twice. At this time, he will have supervised visitation, with me present. Because he lives states away, he is required to come here to see our son. It will not be on a weekly basis due to the travel. He will see him during 2 weeks of the month, 2 times each week, for a total of 4 visits a month plus 2 video calls a month. This will last for 6 months. The next step will be for him to continue that schedule, but to have unsupervised visitation during which he cannot remove him from the area, for another 6 months. After a year, we agreed to have another mediation session to determine next steps, with the goal, his goal, of being able to have my son at his home for short overnights. I'm not even ready to discuss that. He's already suggesting I can come for the first few times. I don't like the sound of it at all. We also have the option to request another mediation before 1 year and something tells me he's going to pull that. I also have an order for child support. While he is in agreement with paying child support, it will have to work through the court system before becoming official and for me to start getting the regular payment. He wrote me a large check in the meantime. I was hesitant to accept it. Not that I don't think my son deserves it, but now I'm just always worried I'll say or do the wrong thing legally, completely unknowingly, and shoot myself in the foot. Like, am I obligating myself and my son to anything by accepting this check? Can he somehow spin this against me? Of course he was not in favor of the 6-month plan, and while he does understand that my son should not just go off with a stranger upon first meeting him, he wishes we could speed it along a little more, but 6 months was what we were able to agree on. He wanted to fly us both to where he lived so he could spend a week or 2 getting to know our son, but I don't feel that's appropriate at this time. Perhaps in a few months, or around the holidays, depending on how things are going. It would be too much too soon. The initial 2 meetings went pretty much just as I thought they would. My son is extremely shy. He wanted to hide behind me most of the time. Then when he would venture out from behind me, as soon as his dad would say anything to him, he would scurry back behind me and just stare at his dad blankly without saying anything. He came out of his shell a little bit, however he has still not said a single word to his dad. He just pretends like his dad isn't there and only talks to me. I will say that his dad is being patient and understanding as far as that goes. If he's frustrated, he's not showing it. He did suggest that maybe our son needs to get out more, go to daycare more of even preschool instead of spending so much time with me and my parents. He's very delighted with how much our son looks like him and how much he favors him over me. The one thing that did bother me is that I already told him I wanted to be very careful and mindful of how we informed our son, this little barely 3-year-old boy, that this man complete stranger is his dad. He said sure, yeah. Then at the first meeting he introduced himself as dad. Since then I've been trying to help my son understand. Like, you know how your grandpa is my daddy, This guy is your daddy. It's so surreal to me that any of this is happening. I feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for something to blow up in my face. Now it's just working on accepting our new reality. All of this change is hard and confusing for my son, and it's hard for me. Unless he really fucks up, I'm looking at eventually shared times with my son, spending school breaks and holidays at his dad's house, hours and hours away in another state. It won't happen tomorrow, but it will happen in the most likely reality. I just hope he stays committed. If he can be a good dad to my child, then my child deserves that, no matter how sad sharing him makes me. If he breaks my son's heart, that'll be another story, and I won't accept that so readily. Relevant comments. OP on the times when her son has to go visit his father and what the courts are deciding on. OP answer: they haven't ordered him to visit his father in his state, but eventually, that will probably happen. Talking elementary school age. Worldly promise. 675. I hope it all works out as well as it can given the circumstances. Your son and his well-being is definitely top priority. The baby daddy seems really pushy and doesn't like boundaries, so it does not seem he's changed much. OP answer: he's used to getting his way. I'm doing my best to not just roll over but also learn to compromise. Imalela, are you concerned that he may also try to push the idea of reconciling romantically? It sounds like you are focused on your son and he's focused on getting his way. OP answer: I don't know. He hasn't really given me that impression. He's given me compliments. He's tried reminding me of some of the good times we had together. But I see that as all part of his schmoozing to just get me to do what he wants, not to get back together with me. OP on getting a therapist for her son. OP answer: yes, I'm working on finding a therapist for him. I realize I should have started that process before this all went into action.